Big up, big up, big up, big up. And welcome to the Liberal 12th Man Show. I am the Liberal 12th Man, just as well as you are, and that's why you're here. We're joined by the Irishman, and we're joined by Lee. How you doing, Irishman?
Oh, Janie and Bagara into finally.
Right, I like it. I like it. Uh, I don't even know how. I don't know what kind of response would be fitting for that, but okay. Uh, big up to Lee too. Lee, how are you doing today?
Good, good. Oh, good.
Good, good. Oh man, big up to Redbird, High Lore, Honesty in the house. Big up to all of you guys in the house today because today is a day. It is finally Friday, but big up Philip, big up Philip. But the unique thing about today's show is that we all thought we were going to have like a cool little, easy weekend. You wouldn't have to really necessarily deal with much going on other than just enjoying your weekend, maybe trying to avoid the heat, which is pretty much what I'm doing here in the desert here. And big up Luca, by the way, big up Luca. And we got a little news. Our beloved league is getting sued by Manchester City.
It's hilarious, isn't it? You've got to laugh, haven't you? You have got to laugh. It wasn't one of them where it went, how dare they? My initial thought was, come on now.
it's you know what? And MK what up? Come on. I know, right? Like it's one of those situations where it's like I live in America, so this is the land of lawsuits, basically. So it's not like seeing and hearing lawsuits is something obscure for me to hear about. But all the same, it's just one of those things where I was just like, man, is this really happening? Like, as in, is this where we're at with this game? Is that like, you're gonna come up with tyranny, the tyranny of the majority kind of concepts and such? It just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. So
yeah, once it stopped laughing, that initial laughter, that sort of like, I think I'm mad, the fools. Once that died off, like it just started going, oh, woe is me. What is this? What they're suing the league, saying that they're ripping them off. Bloody
I think
hell.
they're trying to play. I think truthfully, and this is all obviously everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and like the whole nine about like guess, and this is all alleged, information because it's coming from reports, newspaper reports, leaked emails, previous like cast concepts and such. That's what the 115. That's what that, and actually there could be even more charges than the 115. The 115 is now just the number of charges that they have on that has gotten publication, a lot of like press. But now there's even talks about there could be even more breaches and such that are going to be piled on top of that. I've done a bunch of little bit of like background info for all of us so we can kind of get caught up and kind of get like a little breach of like what exactly is being reported. Is there anything you want to say before I dive into some of the stuff that I like basically came up and took notes on? Irishman, is there anything you want to say or add before we get into it?
Well, just about how monumentally depressing the whole thing is, because this is where you end up forcing people to argue about legal rulings and time barrings and what's whether sponsor associate partnership deals are good or not for the. I mean, that's not what football fans are supposed to be arguing about. It's arguing about players and results and managers. No, it's like the whole thing is basically when you have you hire a bunch of corporate lawyers when you're hiring corporate lawyers, I mean, we all know you know things have stepped. You're at a different level to just people trying to prove anything. These guys are
It's sort
these
of
guys are
beyond
pretty
what the normal
transparent.
person. Yeah,
It
what the
is.
layman
It's
would
not
be
what we
watching,
should be
isn't it?
interested in, or wasting our time
Yeah.
talking about these guys coming in and basically saying, well, we don't like these rules. We signed up for them, but we don't like them. So now we're going
Right.
to sue you and try and change them. I mean,
Hmm.
if people can't see that for exactly what it is, I know we have to go into it and break it down. But it's just so
Mhm.
depressing that they've introduced this kind of utter nonsense to the Premier
Mhm.
League, you know. And like, I laughed. I'm like I don't normally laugh out loud, you know, out of nowhere. But when I read that the majority of the tyranny, when I read that, I literally laughed out loud. Oh, that's just the
Yeah.
funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
We're just that's. I mean, those lawyers. I mean, that guy, give him a bonus for being pure. Just if you're going to corporate lawyer, and that is that's shameless stuff.
Shameless.
Utterly
Yes.
shameless stuff.
Yeah. Let me just get into some of the articles that were written and everything. Some of the things that were said. Um, Manchester City claim they are the victims of discrimination from rival
Oh,
clubs and that is exactly the words they said, discrimination in an unprecedented legal action
oh.
that could ultimately undermine the Premier League's excuse me 115 charges against Manchester City. Manchester City is not only taking these unprecedented legal actions against the Prem, but they're arguing that the tightened financial rules violate United Kingdom competition law and are seeking damages. That's the one thing too, by the way. That just is like, it's one thing that you're trying to get the law changed. Now you're on some like,
Oh,
Yeah.
now we want you to pay us.
Mm.
That
the
is just
balls.
like, oh my goodness.
There's
Oh,
a small part of me that wants them to be successful in that claim and to actually make the Premier League get down on its knees. You know what I mean? With all the cash and that, and go, please leave it alone. We won't say nothing again. You
yeah.
know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
small
No.
part of me that wants that because it would be so funny.
Yes. So they're seeking the competition law, and are seeking damages, claiming they're claiming the club is a victim of discrimination. 2-week private arbitration hearings is going to be launched on June 10th, I believe, right? So this Monday is when they're going to have the trial. It will be looking into a somewhat separate issue from the 115, because like this again, a lot of people when they hear this, they were like, oh, the 115, and I'm like, and I know that some of the articles or some of the press that you're hearing is saying, oh, well, this isn't related to the 115, and I'm thinking that's like a little disingenuous in that it is. By taking this measure, you take out the means to prosecute a lot of those things that are a part of the 115. So they're trying to go against associated party financial rules, and they say that they are targeted as the tyranny of the majority. This is such a crazy thing. Basically, for those out there, because I was like, what is the tyranny of the majority? What the heck is that? And it's basically like there's 20 clubs, and it takes 14 votes to get it through, get a measure through. They're saying that they're getting bullied by the majority. In essence, what
This
it looks
bloody
like, it sounds like
democracy
to
stuff.
me. What's that?
This bloody democracy
Yeah,
stuff where
exactly.
people vote and you lose. It's the
Yeah,
tyranny of democracy.
yeah,
Like we
exactly
get
my
it
point.
in your country where you run city from. There is no such thing as democracy. People don't get to vote on stuff. We
Right,
get that, but
right.
when you come to a country that has democracy and you start calling it tyranny, this is like something out of this is pantomime villain stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, you're back.
Kind of like they know they're under investigation for timeshare fraud,
Mhm.
and before they get their timeshare fraud case, they decide to bring a case to sue the government because timeshare fraud shouldn't be illegal.
Right.
You know, they're just this is what, like, these guys. I mean, this is what happens when you have endless money.
This
You
is
know,
what
this
happens
is
when
going to
you have
cost.
kings and sheiks and you know, and
Mm,
royal families
mm.
controlling you know, controlling
It's
clubs, and then
it's
having
so
them have to.
obscenely, isn't it? It doesn't look good, does it? Well, we all knew that. I mean, I'm just stating the bleeding obvious here. But the thing is, we had a precedent with UEFA where they looked into them. They went, "Yeah, you've cheated," and it's dead obvious. So they banned them from the Champions League and then
Right.
quickly unbanned them 5 minutes later. Which, you know, it follows in the tradition of doing it to like Juventus and other Italian clubs every time they cheat financially or pay a ref and a court, or are in a betting scandal, a load of players in a court, all from one team, you know, instead of it just being one player.
Right.
I always used to think of that as being not something that would happen in English football, you know, but you'll see it all over the continent where culture is different between
Mhm.
South Europe and North Europe. Like, you know, we're more into fair play, and I'm not being weird or nothing, like, you know what I mean? I know
Mhm.
people who are like Italian and Spanish heritage. I'm not saying they're like that. I'm just saying their footballers are like that, where they'll any
Right. This has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with your
yeah,
ethnicity. It
yeah,
has nothing to do with what region of the world you're from.
mm,
It has nothing to do with your gender. It has nothing to do with any of those like quick, you know, cards that some people want to pull out of the deck for this argument. It just has to go with the sheer fact of we have a club that is crying against them pretty much democracy, like as in a democratically done thing, in that there's one vote, one team, one vote, you know, and there's no like. I know that there were efforts by clubs, our club notably, that was trying to get it where, you know, our club brings in a good percentage of the money into the Prem by the television shares or the television audience that we bring into the Prem. But all the same, and that would have said that we would have looked to have had a little bit of a higher say in things, or a larger share of a stake in some of the decisions, but that got voted down, you know, because of smaller clubs being like, no, we want an equal share, we want an equal say. So it's one of those things where it has to raise an eyebrow, because what I researched was the law that they're going against, this APT, has been active since 2021. So it's not like this is a new law, as in they just made it this year. This has been active since 2021. And it's actually been active even before that. They just amended it when basically Newcastle United came got into the league, primarily because the Saudi Public Investment Fund again laughs at City's money, basically, you know, because if they thought they were going to have issues with City and their ownership group, Newcastle United would have been a whole new bag, basically. So they tried to be proactive and take care of this problem, you know, and that's what's really wild about it. What's even crazier, again, like I said,
But also
is that
quickly
City.
on it,
Go ahead.
just one thing. Sorry, that
No, go
I
ahead.
see people saying as well is like, well, like, what's wrong with a certain company wanting to sponsor, you know, a certain club, you
Right.
know, for
Right.
X amount of money, um, if it's fair market value. And of course, yeah, you know, that is like, nobody is saying that, but what we're saying with City is City are saying that we're sponsored by Pizza Hut, right? And Pizza Hut have given us $100 million, right? And Pizza Hut have given $100 million. But through all these back channels and these dodgy setups, they've just basically given Pizza Hut back 90 million. Not by, you know, outwardly, it's just through back channels. That's what the problem with what they're doing is. is they came out and said, "Oh no, Etihad, they chose to sponsor us from them, and it came directly from Etihad's accounts. They're from their profits, and it was shown pretty quickly, or whoever it is that sponsors them, I don't know. Etihad, it is Etihad, and it was shown pretty quick that yeah, they did, but you literally wrote them a check back for like 90% of the money, and you just gave back the money.
Right.
Like that's wrong. If they fairly, stupidly decide they want to openly, like a separate company that is not owned by the guy that owns you, wants to pay you a big wedge of cash, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But what they were doing was coming out and literally, brown envelope the money back to them, and they only have to pay 10 million at the end of the day, and they can say they got 100 million. That's the issue. That's what they're trying to hide, from what I can see. Right? It's
there's even deeper levels from what I've been reading. I mean, like, because that's the primary. A lot of what we've gotten from this has come from. I'm trying to think of what the name of it was. Make sure.
Der Spiegel.
Yes, that's it. Yes, the leaks by the initial football leaks. Off the book payments by the Abu Dhabi owns, the Abu Dhabi ownership group. And that was where kind of everything started to snowball, basically. And why it was really crazy is that there's deeming that the rules were deliberately intended to stifle commercial freedoms of particular clubs in particular circumstances. This is quoted, and thus to restrict economic competition. That's what they're claiming that's the reported claim, okay? And why that's really wild, and I saw Luca give a funny example as well, but I mean, it gets even further, again, it gets even further in the point of like, oh, well, they'll say, well, okay, me, Lee, Irishman, we're all brothers here, we're all family here. Why can't I go to my own family member and say, hey, you're part of this conglomerate that we have together. You run, as you said, Pizza Hut, for instance, again, right? I'm not trying to throw Pizza Hut under the bus here, but
other pizzas are available. Other pizza companies are available.
Exactly.
And it just feels like City are the discrimination that they cite as being leveled against them is that people have noticed they spend all the money and win the league every year. It's like Russell Crowe throwing his sword in Gladiator. Are you not entertained? Is this not good enough for you? And we're like, no, it isn't. Like, because you win every year. This is pants. Please amend this for us, like, so someone else has got a chance of winning the league. But they're like, you what? That's discrimination.
Right. No, it goes like, what I was going to get at is that if you can go to one of the major issues that were brought up from the leaked emails is that these companies don't even exist. It was so bad that they were just making fake companies.
Yeah, I heard some funny ones. People were just making up for a laugh.
Like that's like how people are getting to the point of like outrage over that alone. I mean, that's illegal. And as long as I'm not a lawyer, but I know. But I believe that would be illegal to make a fake company and then try to because that could be like money laundering in essence.
Allegedly.
Right.
But no, like it's like the companies themselves aren't fake. They are actual real. They have technically been set up, but they're shell companies, shadow companies. Like they don't actually do anything. There is no business, but it's literally just a bank account, so you can put money into
box.
Redbird FC in the Cayman Islands, and they can put it into Man City, and then it comes from Redbird FC. It doesn't come from you, but you put it into their account, basically.
Right.
And then that was the thing where like when people look, all these kind of like online investigators, they looked it up, and the only thing they could find on this company that was sponsoring City for like 60 million was some random dude's picture on LinkedIn with one line underneath it going owner of. That's just it. That's the entire company's footprint online, and they're sponsoring City for 60 million. They just took
took a piss one. Yeah. And that's the thing about it. That's the thing about it too, is that it's a slippery slope too, because like what's scary, especially about state-run ownership groups, the relationships that they have with the countries as well. Obviously, they're an oil-producing country, so you have conditions where you don't want to, make unfavorable trade options or trade negotiations with these companies or with these states. You want to have them favorable, obviously, for your own country, and it could even go as far as you going to a point where you say, okay, well, this is a hypothetical, and this is all like this isn't. It's a hypothetical, in that you could go something on the lines of saying, oh well, okay, I need 100 million or 200 million to make these transfers. There's players I want to get. I need to make my books be ballooned by plus 200 million. Well, what I'll do is I could set up a way where the oil that comes from our country, I'll give you a 200 million break on it. So in that sense, you're getting 200 million of a break on the actual oil that you're getting, but yet but I'm going to charge you the 200 million, or I'll give you the 200 million in advertising, and we'll figure out a way. Like there's so many different ways of like going around and trying to make these books come out to be flush. And that's what's scary about it, is that that's the place that we're going to. And it's not just with oil companies. Look, Ineos, right? Or that's the name of the company, I believe, right? Ineos, the Manchester United company, right?
Yeah.
Even they have more money than you would know what to do with, right? I'm saying like this, it's similar with them too, though. They can go as far as to say, oh well, you know what? We want you to, we'll give you 300 million to start like to make sure that everything is good, and that'll be our advertising fee. It's not healthy of a position to be able to set the terms of the advertising price that you'll get if you're the advertiser yourself, and own the actual team as well. Like, guys, and you can't have your hand in both pots, basically, and that's what it is.
If you go right back to where this stuff actually starts, it's after World War II, after World War I, World War II, where the whole Middle East gets divided up literally by the British into that's all those countries have straight lines, and they picked basically the ruling families that would work with them, especially like the House of Saud in Saudi Arabia, and the Sheikhdom in Qatar and in the Emirates, and they made sure they backed those guys.
Yeah.
So like these guys have always been in bed with the British. It's like, so when the Saudi one was coming in, like that thing was going to like a committee, like a footballing committee about like, and they were like having meetings, about whether it was okay to let the Saudis, and then like there was like a knock on the door, and the Prime Minister sticks his head in and going, I'd really like for this deal to go through yesterday, and next thing you know, Saudi are in the door because they're in bed with the British, because they sell them all they buy billions in arms from the British. It's the oil and the gas comes into it, it's
it does heavily.
But it's also the British and the Saudis. It's actually, most of it is actually to do with the billions that the Saudis give the English for missiles and bombs and planes and developments and all the things to do them. So those relationships run very, very deep between the British government and that part of the world. So
it's funny, we were okay for about 20 years, weren't we?
Well, that's the damage you boys can do, Lee. That's the damage the British can do in
20 years. I've lived in this flat longer than 20 years.
But you didn't want to stay in the desert.
It was like, well, you shouldn't have got in the First World War then, should you? You shouldn't have invaded Europe then, should you?
Well, they didn't want to stay in the desert, Lee. They didn't want to stay in the desert. The Brits were like, look, we own this now, right? You're in charge. You send us the oil, but we're off. This is bloody hot. I think that's pretty much how that works.
That's probably a conversation they might have had. That last part is probably a conversation they might have had. I know
It was
what I know
Britain and
what.
France, wasn't it? After the First World War, Britain and France got to divvy up the Middle East for 20 years or some dead long time.
Straight
You
lines
know what I
everywhere,
mean?
dude. If you ever see
Basically,
a straight line on a map, you know the British were involved.
hey mate,
Countries
the
don't come
Arabs
with
hate
straight
the
lines.
Turks as much as they hate
They
us.
don't come with
For coming
straight
in.
lines.
Yeah, the Arabs hate everyone,
That's
mate.
you.
Even their own
Yeah.
people. Well, their own.
No, it is scary.
People.
MK Toast got a point. Geopolitics of the EPL. It's becoming geopolitics. It's scary that's where we're at. With the, we
As
just
I
want to watch
said at the
football.
start of the show,
We
it's
just want to
depressing
watch
that we're
football.
having a talk.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I
that's the
said at the top
depressing
before,
part about it.
really
We
depressing.
just want to
Another
watch football. We just want to be.
You watch
be
football to get
entertained.
away from this bullshit, don't you?
Yes.
You watch
No,
football
yeah,
to
I
get
know
away
it's
from
been
the
dragged
war in
into
Yemen
it.
and Russia, and
Yeah.
oh, now
But
it
yet
is. Now it's
it
become football.
dragged back in. It dragged back in and
Mate,
unfortunately
it's
held on
literally
the
for
water.
anything now. They get involved in it. It's for anything now that they're getting involved. And they're saying this ain't that and that ain't this, and you're like, oh, please, man. You know, like, what was it, Leicester in the FA Cup final, and they had Palestine flags on the pitch after the match. Chowdhury and another one, Fafana, it was, both of the Muslims, and they had Palestine. And, you know, Jews noticed and went, grr, how dare you? But, like, you know what I mean? It's just like it's dragged into it too much now. It's like everything's got that tagged onto it, and it's like, can't we escape anywhere, even to the match?
No, you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the truth.
It's the escape. Your escape. It used to be
It used to be an escape.
for what guys did on a well, not what guys people did on a weekend. You work 6 days. The guy that owned your factory created a football team that on a Sunday you go to mass in the morning, then the afternoon you'd have something to do and you go and watch the match and you forget about work for a while. For an hour and a half, forget about work, forget about the world, forget about your worries, cheer your team on. Now you're getting stopped at the front gate asking what your opinion is on Saudi Arabia beheadings and what the political situation in America and the war in Ukraine as it affects your club. It's like,
well, yeah. Let me finish up some of this update, or at least some of this background info for us. So the other 19 top flight clubs have been invited to participate in the legal action. 12 have stepped up to support the Premier League. It is claimed. There are reports that 3 clubs have sided. I announced those 3 clubs yesterday that have sided with possibly siding with City.
Just remind us. It was Newcastle.
So the 3 teams that were cited as possibly siding with them would have been Chelsea, Newcastle, and Manchester United.
I thought it was Villa. I thought it was Villa. Sorry, Villa. Oh, it was Villa, wasn't it? I was surprised. Was anybody else surprised by that one? Anyone else get caught off guard a little bit by the Villa one?
You know why? I think it was because
I was like, cool.
One of their owners, I believe, does have ties to that region. So,
well, they're both American, but one of them is Middle Eastern Asian. One of them is your man Evans, Evans, Wes Evans, I think it is. And then the other guy, he is American, but I think he's like American Iranian but yeah, he's Middle Eastern. Well, I was still surprised by Villa. Chelsea, yeah, obviously. Newcastle, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think. Yeah, no. Also, well, it's the same things like with Chelsea, though. Chelsea, a lot of people see it as being, oh, well, it's American owners, Taboli, such and such. But yet, no, they have other investors in their group, with interest, with their own interest. So
football, is it? We know it's very easy to launder money in that way offshore, and that with fake companies. We hear it all the time, don't we? It's not just in football like that. We're hearing it about City. It's just non-stop, that stuff, isn't it? And it's very easy to do. Is the scary? Well, it sounds that way from the outside looking in. It's very easy for rich people to keep all their money and avoid taxes and avoid this and avoid that.
I will say this, that there's only one. Again, these are all reports. These are all allegations. These are all different. This is just. I'm just I'm just repeating what has been reported in newspapers and some of the journals and the such, and that is that apparently just one of the groups is apparently willing to stand, because, for instance, Newcastle is not willing to stand technically with City. They understand that Newcastle understood what they were getting into. Basically, they understood the fact of how the rules had been changed, that were getting even more rigorous or more rigid, I should say, with their inclusion. And that was the only way that they were going to be allowed to be included, because they already knew that the slippery slope was already going the way it was. So City had been among 8 clubs. So it was interesting because City had been originally one of 8 clubs to vote down a temporary ban of loans between connected teams for January at the last meeting of the competition. So there are more teams now voting for it, but that's because, again, a lot of these teams now have other teams that they own. The multi-team thing is coming into this equation now. It is something where this is so complex and so messy that it's
almost like they planned it that way, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like, you thought that this Super League concept was a bad idea, like, as in the way that they're getting away with a lot of this other stuff is absolutely incredible. And what's wild about it is they're creating monopolies. And if anything, they're creating monopolies in these by the multi-team thing. And I mean, the City Football Group, for instance, has 12 teams already. They're a part of 12 teams. That's crazy that they have 12 teams throughout the entire world, that they're able to go and say, oh, well, you know what? We want to transfer from I don't know, New York City FC. Oh, well, that player is market value is hypothetically 50 million. Well, cool. It's market. That's great. But why don't we're going to get him for 20. Oh, but the market value is this. Well, he's our player. We can deem what we want to transfer this player at. You should be happy we said 20 and try to make at least something. It's one of those cases where it's just like, it gets wild. So, all right. So,
one thing I've just thought, quickly on the multiple, as you're talking about that, because we always think about sort of the first thing. And I've been the one talking about that, Savio leaving Girona to go to Manchester City, deal done already, 30 million fee. How difficult was that negotiation? Pretty much nothing. Yeah, we're giving you 30 million for Savio. We're taking him in the summer. We own you. We own Savio. Basically, this is the money we're going to give. But now when you think about it, if you had a Girona and a Girona in every top flight league, there was one in whichever one in Serie A and in France, yada yada yada. I would imagine that there will be a strong reluctance amongst clubs to sell players to clubs that they think, if that ends up being a mistake, that guy will go to City. I think some of those clubs will find, like, we will let's just say we have a guy and we're willing to let him go for 30 million quid, right? Now we're not sure, but we're prepared to let him go. There's no way we're letting him go to the team the City owns. Yeah, we'll let him go. But why would we give? Because if it is where it turns out to be a mistake, which happens,
like
and
it's a virtual pipeline. No pun intended. It's a virtual pipeline to City.
Yeah, you're giving them the chance to then so I think there'd be a reluctance. I know it's only a small thing, but there would be a reluctance for bigger teams to sell their assets that they might be worried about, going on and progressing, but to give them to that City feeder club in France, or because they might end up going back to City for 15 million or 20 million. Again, I think they might be position themselves out of the market. It's just something that occurred to me there when you were talking about it.
No, you're absolutely right. And like these last, so here's what the last little I'll keep it short here, as short as possible, because so the Premier League's crackdown on ATPs came obviously because of Newcastle United, like I spoke on earlier. But you would think then Manchester City would have Newcastle United as an ally in this fight. But Newcastle United, like I said, is saying, no, I'm good. We don't think that you're going to win this. Chances are, if it's obvious why you're bringing up these allegations or all these, or why you bring up these lawsuits. At least I believe it's, in my opinion, it's obvious as to why you're bringing these lawsuits up. We don't want to get, lumped into your mess, basically. So they declined, as did, basically the 18 other clubs invited to rise up against the league's tyranny of the majority. But if this does go through, it will basically take away a lot of the order that we even see that UEFA, for instance, is trying to construct, because UEFA is constructing a lot of what Premier League is already doing, with the format where they're saying the PSR rules apply. If you don't hold stringent by our rules, you can't participate in our tournaments. Okay. And obviously it's something of an interesting thing, because there's nonprofit member associations like Barcelona, Dortmund, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, like you spoke on before, Irishman, like as in, they have boards and groups, and their ownership by some of those ownerships are by the people or by the actual fans and such, right? Or they're controlled by funds. Go ahead.
Right. They're Real Madrid are technically fan owned. They're a fan owned club. Nobody can buy them. Barcelona are fan owned. They're clubs in Spain. They're socios. Basically, you obviously need a president to run the club. So it's like political elections. Yeah, you all get a vote because you're a socio, but you have to elect someone to make the big decisions.
You have to elect
and the person who has to be a president has to have be able to guarantee 200 million in their bank account. So they have to have money in their account behind them. And they also have to be in a socio for at least 25 years. So you have to be very rich and very long associated. So not everyone can be president, but technically they are fan owned, fan controlled. They can vote that guy in, vote that guy out. But you can't be bought. You can't be taken over like that. They can make as much money as anyone else. But that's what I'd like to see in England would be a version of.
There's also so you could be right. But there's also some clubs like Manchester United, Chelsea, AC Milan, Manchester United especially, that have either investors, and for Manchester United have shareholders, because Manchester United is a stock. They're traded on the stock market here in America, so you can buy shares into Manchester United, just like Liverpool. As a fan, as long as you have the money, you can buy into the club. And Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. But what I was trying to get at is that it would basically take away a lot of the cost controls, and it would make it less attractive for people to invest, knowing that there's no stability to this, to anything that deals with this football world, and that's why UEFA, that's why these governing bodies are trying to create regulations, why they're trying to create situations, just as you said earlier, the fair market value concepts, because I know they have the fair market value, people that judge or adjudicate what is fair market value is like a financial group or company, whether you call them regulators or whether you call them adjusters or whatever the term or title you want to give to them. they are independent of the Premier League. It's not the Premier League making the assumption of saying, you know what, City have won too many titles, so we need to like balance this out and start to try to like screw them over, in essence. That's not what's going on. But that's kind of what City are alleging. And that's an issue and a problem in itself.
Yeah.
Because you're taking away the actual stability of the league. You're actually taking away the stability of the
for a
league.
while that it gets sorted out, and it depressed me towards the end of last season. Once our season went bad, when like the mentality went flat, when because Klopp was leaving, and we fell out the title race. That made me feel even worse because I was thinking about it when we didn't get that pen at the end against City at Anfield, Doku won, and I was like outraged and that going bloody these. But like then I thought about them and I thought that they're not. I was depressed thinking that they're not going to get their just desserts, and it was putting me off watching the football towards the end of the season. Once I knew we were going to win the league, you know what I mean? I was saying, oh, I'm not bothered now, but it really did make me sick. Then winning it 4 years in a row, I've never seen that before. I've seen 3 from us and United. And like other teams done it in the 1800s or early 1900s, like Preston or Burnley or some shit. But like the first time 4 in a row, and for it to be now in this day and age, to see 4, 6 of the last 7, that's a piss take, innit? And look at France as well with Nasser El Khelaïfi and PSG. It's no good, is it? They've ruined leagues, like, and then when you say anything, they just say discrimination or something else.
And he's one of the top. But Nasser Al Khelaïfi isn't just PSG president. He's basically top. He's top 3 in UEFA. He's not just that. He's one of the main.
He's not just some. Yeah, he's not just some. Yeah,
he's
owner. He's someone that has a voting tie on the rules made by the governing boards.
Yeah, the rich owners and the money
could be anyone.
Oh yeah, no, it's just he's one of the main men in UEFA. He doesn't. Yeah, he's actually one of. I mean, he could be UEFA president pretty soon if the other guy moves on.
He plays his cards right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how he has power just beyond. Well, beyond everything else we already know, he has power in, but he's also one of the main men there, which is one of the things I find so surprising about how strict UEFA are with their FFP. I actually find it strange because it's one of possibly the most corrupt organizations going over the last 20 years in sport, along with the cycling and obviously boxing is usually boxing is always up there, but that they're actually so stringent in the way they make this stuff. They are so strict about it. Like they've set up this system, and it's pretty simple. It's like the one in Spain. People don't believe. Like in Spain, you get an app. It's literally an app on your phone, and as a club, you enter your numbers into it, and you get basically a yes or a no that comes back that tells you whether or not those numbers are. It's crazy, and it's set up that easy for people. I know I've underexplained it a little bit there, but when they put their numbers in, they go, "No, you won't pass this year." Like it's an official Spanish league app that you put all your finances into. That's how streamlined it is over there. That they know it's like that's why Barcelona were like they hit it, and it's like, no, you're still -8. So they're like, okay, what do we do? Renegotiate some guy's deal, cut his money by 4 million a year, but double his contract. Right, we're short by 4.
Renegotiate, give them more years, so that that's why Chelsea put on so many years on a lot of those contracts, for instance.
Yeah, but then they hit the button again, and it's cool. It's like, okay, now you can buy a player. That's what it was. It was like, now you can buy a player, and you can buy one for 27 million. That's how tight those things are. So it's and that's what's coming into England, and that's the other thing quickly. Why these people are taking so long to charge Man United or Manchester City isn't because of they've done the same things that Nottingham Forest and Everton did. This is because they pretended that the money was legitimate and they didn't break any rules.
Right.
Whereas the guys at Everton and Forest are like, yeah, we overspent. It shows up in your accounts. These are real accounts. Basically, what City allegedly did,
Well, yeah.
was falsify the accounts to show that they did make that money. That's
Right.
why it's taking so much longer.
Yeah.
You know,
We're
so
taking
that's
so the case that's in October or November, depending on how long they try to continue to push it. The charges against City, who deny any wrongdoing, include 54 failures to provide accurate financial information from 2009 to 2017, 2018. 14 failures to provide accurate details for player and management payments from 2009 to 2017, 2018 season. 5 failures to comply with UEFA's rules, including financial fair play from 2013-14 to 2017-18. 7 breaches of the Premier League PSR rules from 2015-16 to 2017-18. And 35 failures to cooperate with the Premier League, basically what the Irishman was just saying. 35 failures to cooperate with Premier League investigations from 2018 to 2023, December 2018 to February 2023. They continued to just say, no, there are books. We're not going to show you. And that's issues, people. Some serious issues.
Sitting there lately in recent weeks in a chat box, and there's a bit of a bum fight over it, and it'll be like everybody else complaining, and it'll be 115 FC, blah, 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 blah. And then there'll be 2 or 3 City fans sort of like doggedly trying to defend City, go, nothing's been proven yet. But you can read between there, you can read their comments like and go, yeah, he knows that. You can tell what
he knows.
Hoping they've got their fingers crossed, they know they're guilty.
That is so great that you brought up that point, Lee, because that's what I kind of want to segue into. And I guess, it's going to sound crazy. I know people can say, oh, well, you're just salty because, you're a Liverpool fan and City has been able to, beat you to getting to the titles or and such, or competing and sometimes with the way that they've been able to bring in players and such, the high caliber players and blah, blah, blah. But what's really gets to me is that I know there are those people out there like, oh, well, it's one thing to go and have an opinion, a formulated opinion from obviously allegations against the City ownership group. But it's a different thing. I feel for the City fans, and I feel for the City fans. Look, I have 1 or 2 city friends, citizens, right? Friends. But I'm going to say, I guess it might be a little bit scandalous. I don't know if it is or not. I know. I wanted to actually ask you guys backstage before I actually brought this up. But hey, I'm gonna be transparent. I could care less. I think that City fans, the sheer fact that they are scrambling to basically say, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here, And they feel like, I don't know if you ever saw Animal House. So it's an older movie. I get that. But, and there's a scene when Kevin Bacon, he's like an ROTC guy or something like that, right? He's dressed in his army. And he's going, there's nothing to see here. Where everything's gonna be fine. It's all good, basically, And the city is just, the town is just in pure chaos, and there's people running around. He's like, we're all gonna be fine. There's nothing to worry about. That is what a City fan is to me right now.
That is how I see in their shoes a bit when I was in this comment box, and one came at me when he sensed there was a Liverpool fan, but it was everyone. There was United fans and Arsenal fans, Chelsea. No, not Chelsea. And it was United and Arsenal fans having a go about it, and others from smaller clubs. And he said to me, he went, you Liverpool fan, he went, you cheating as well. He went, you hacked our database. And he was talking about, we spoke to a young player who I assume was 14 or 15 or something that was on their database. And apparently that was like a major, but he was trying to say that's like as bad as these 115 charges. And gross, incompetence of the authorities and not rooting it out further. He was like trying to bring the two things together as being the same. This like database. Do you remember that a few years ago? And they went on. Well, it was about 5 or 6 years ago now when it started. It went. The City fans started going. Liverpool raided our database and found out the name of a schoolboy and tried to get him to sign for him instead. For them instead, tried to rob him off us. They cheated us, and like that's as bad as the FFP. Is what they
they try to correlate.
They say it's cheating as well. You're cheating. It's like it's slightly different. There's a little bit of a difference in scale and like of magnitude of like of transgression there. Like, do you not agree?
I actually called him a
bong and a retard and that, and he disappeared after 2 comments of me bashing him.
Yeah. I definitely think that it's definitely deflection when it comes to a lot of the City supporter content creators. I know KJ just mentioned one of them in the chat. I was listening to I think his name's LB. I think his name is. Apologies if I got that wrong, by the way. But I mean, the way that they're going about it, and like they're basically trying to figure out any way to defend what they've done. It's very similar to Chelsea fans that totally bent over backwards to try to take the actions of Roman and say, no, everything's good there. Everything's cool. If anything, some Chelsea fans would like to have Roman back as an owner because of the times and the era that they went through under his stewardship. And that's what's scary, super, super scary. Is that like why I go, you know what? I don't really have much, there's not much love lost on a lot of the City fans because I think they know, they understand that their Camelot that they created was a hologram, and that it's coming, and like surely but slowly pieces of it are falling apart. They're fragmenting apart, and they're just trying to hold. They're trying to hold it together by just making up every and any excuse to support things that go against the stability of the league, that go against democracy, that go against all these like noble concepts. They're willing to just throw to the fire, and that's scary.
City,
and if that's the case, I don't support that at all.
Yeah, City and its owners could have got what they wanted, as in success and sustained success, but just at a slightly later date. If they'd obeyed the rules, like they could say, like Pep hadn't arrived or wasn't due to arrive until next summer. You know what I mean? They had to wait an extra 6 or 7 years, to do it properly. But they couldn't wait, could they? They wanted success yesterday, and then they got the league in 2012, didn't they, off United? But they just couldn't wait. Like Newcastle have been told to wait, haven't they? A bit like, and build it up slowly because the rules have changed. But it all could have been avoided. Did they have to jump in straight away? Could they not have waited an extra 6 or 7, even 8 years to build it up slowly, the business, and then try and be successful? Did it have to come instantly? Are they like children that they couldn't wait for bloody Christmas?
But again, it's one thing to tell, like, as in someone that has a democratic process, you know what, like change and everything takes time. You have to work towards it. You have to progressively get towards it. It's not all going to just be there all at once. But if you're a king or a sheik, or, if you're a ruler of a country, what you say goes. There's no process to it, really. There's no process. There's no one saying to a king no. A king says what he wants and it happens. That's simple. And especially, I mean, like it's one of those cases where it's like, what is it, like the North Korean ruler that said that he broke golf by getting like the record of hole-in-ones or something like that, or like it's one of those things where like you control everything to fix what it is that you want as a king. And it's not going to be the case where you have a case or a situation where you're going to tell someone, you know what, there's the democratic process to it, or you know what, Stoke City is voting against your measure, you know, and you gotta, and they're the vote that declined whatever it was that you were proposing, so you'll have to live with it. Oh, really? We'll find a way around it. And that's what the city ownership group, I think, has done in a lot of these cases, allegedly, of course. Yeah.
I can't remember what comedian it was, but they were pointing out that any country with democratic in its title is far from being democratic, isn't it? Like Democratic People's Republic of Korea,
Right.
Democratic Republic of Congo. None of these places were democratic. Where they like when they
they're not.
Point,
they're very not. They're not. And look, even democracy can be manipulated to be autocratic and such, you know, as in there can be other ways. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of the things I know fucking idiots were texting me there with the most nonsense stuff.
Are they listening to what we're saying? Maybe.
No, people who can't take it. It's like I'm kind of busy at the moment. Can you just?
I got you.
But you were asking something about City fans, and you can ask me after this because I've forgotten what the question was. But the one thing that I found was so funny, and look, I get it. It's like if you're going to pretend that you've been, you know, like done over, you know, like if you're going to pretend that, you know, then you kind of have to go all in. Like you can't half pretend that, oh, it's all against us, and you know, with this whole tyranny thing, you know, like if you're going to come out with that kind of stuff, then you have to pretend that you're 100% butthurt, not just a little bit, you know, sore, you know. So they come out with the compensate, yeah. Oh, and not only like this is so wrong, like even though we know it isn't, we're just trying one on, but this is so wrong. We want monetary compensation from it, you know. But, so they were doing all that, but the best thing about it was they actually mentioned how like they're really annoyed how everyone keeps mentioning the 115. Did you see that bit in the statement? It was like, oh, and by the way, we want compensation for the anxiety of having to listen to constant references. It's like, oh, are you a little bit? Oh, are you okay? Are you a bit offended? It's like they're just like, fuck off.
Speaking of the North
Korea, on, man. That was so pathetic. So pathetic. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, Kim Jong Un is coming out and, oh, stop calling my country evil. It's so hurtful. You know, it hurts my feelings when you keep mentioning the 115. Oh, it's just so petty and cheap.
North Korea in the World Cup in 1966, Pak Do-ik, and they had a good win. They were quite good or something. Remember, there's like
they were
of World Cup '66 in England, and it's like, you know, a posh voice going, and here's this other team from another part of the world. He goes, and here's plucky North Korea. Yeah, excellent. And like, I don't know, they get to the quarterfinals or something. But you could, I mean, it just, I don't know. It sounds funny and it looks weird, and it's weird associating North Korea like with being a good footy team, because I mean I read a lot at that point, like, but they look like
they shocked the world
running around in their kits.
No, they did. They shocked the world at 66. They beat somebody really good. I can't remember who it was. I think they might have beat England or drew with England. But anyway, they were really good in 66. But yeah, no, again, it's just like these guys. Honestly, it's like they're actually they're actually saying, like, you know, oh, and on top of everything, you know, oh, and by the way, you know, this all really hurts our feelings. It's just I can't get over these guys, man. I really can't get over them. Sorry, yeah, it was what you were saying about the City fans. It is sickening. It is sickening because I read, you know, other places as well. Like, and these people that you know for a long time can be City fans, and just the stuff that they'll come up with just to try and justify every tiny little thing. Like they can't accept that they accuse, like they'll say, oh, like that guy, oh, even your club is cheating because you hacked their database. It's like you're all at and it's like, so we're all at it, but you're saying ye aren't. It's like, oh well, no, we're not. They can't even admit that they cheat in the way that everybody cheats.
Right.
But it's like they said, they accuse you of, how dare you say it to us? Everybody's cheating. Oh, but you're saying ye don't cheat, but everybody's cheating. So which is it? Like, you know, how
Bernie,
come? Like, how can anybody with a brain look at your club and go, "Oh, that happened naturally"? Nothing to see there, lads. Like you said, Kevin Bacon, everything's fine. Nothing to see here.
That scene is hilarious, by the way. If you haven't seen Animal House, great movie.
Belushi.
Absolutely.
Belushi. Yeah, John Belushi.
Absolutely incredible movie. Iconic movie for sure. I think it was Landis who directed that, didn't he?
They're all Landis movies. They're all animal.
Landis, right? Okay, great. He was rest in peace. But he was a great director as well. He directed our Ghostbusters too, I think, right?
Did he do Caddyshack? All those kind of crazy frat house type movies. A lot of that stuff. Obviously, he didn't do them all, but that kind of style, very American kind of thing. But Belushi, wow, what a kind of force of nature that guy was. Yeah,
I was just saying though that to Bernie, hold that thought, because I want to ask people what they believe should be. This is obviously, again, this is why it's very interesting. I know that there won't be cameras in the courtrooms, or there might not even be people taking notes as to what's happening and reporting to the outside world as to what's going on behind the closed doors, which is kind of sad, because I think it's a public you kind of take away from the public trust when you do something like that. I've put on the screen, obviously, some of the things that could happen: suspension from playing Premier League games, point deductions, replay matches. I don't think that'll ever happen. Expulsion from the Premier League, compensation, cancel or refusal of registration of new signings, conditional punishment, fines, make such other order as it fits. There is also the actual concept of what they are having to deal with, and let me bring that up too. This is like basically what was actually being adjudicated from, or in the 115, and this is apart from what they're dealing with currently, the Civil War portion that we're talking about with the APT. This is like with the 115. This is with, I read out the good majority of them, but the stuff about like paying, like for instance, the ex-manager Mancini extra millions under the table, in a secret contract.
I think isn't he one of the reasons?
Go ahead, Arshman.
Yeah, no, sorry. Isn't Mancini? Isn't that one of the ones that kind of triggered it in the Der Spiegel thing? That was one of the first things that was like. Mancini was officially also being paid £1 million a year to do like 2 days a week work at some club in Italy. And he was like, he was a consultant on £1 million a year, and they showed that he was actually there for like 37 hours or something.
That's like a mafia thing, one of those like
it is.
In the Sopranos, they had like an episode where like we all go out, you can see they're like tanning outside of the building. I'm sorry, Lee, go ahead.
It's where the first wisps of smoke came from to show us that there's a fire, and just Spiegel got onto it, didn't he? Like with Mancini receiving millions, like in different ways, and that, like, instead of just getting his as usual, like he was getting other things, and they were onto it, weren't they? And
Yeah.
and they just found more and more and more. It just unravelled, didn't it? Like, as far as I can remember, to other, when I say unravelled, like it led on to other stuff. There were other rabbit warrens, weren't there, hidden below Mancini and all around them and that, like, and then the new people.
This is one of the leaks, actually, for
They
instance.
thought they could get away with it. No, sorry, they just thought they could get away with giving Mancini a second job and paying him, and no one would be able to hang on.
Yeah,
they just thought that would work. Nope.
No, this is one of the emails that got leaked. This is one of the football leaks that from Der Spiegel that was part of how the snowball started to get bigger and bigger, and it's because it's from, at the time, Simon Pierce, who was a strategic figure at Manchester City and their related football companies, and was a special advisor to the most senior figures at the UAE. And this is to Peter Baumgartner, Baumgartner was the chief operating officer at Etihad Airlines at the time. It goes to highlight basically, like, for instance, the 31.5 million that they ended up needing. This is all like past tense, as in this already happened. It was just basically talking about something that had already happened. And what had happened was, like, apparently one of the people at the Etihad Airways saw something of a anomaly pop up, being like, what is this? This doesn't make sense. Where's this money go? How is there's money going here and going there, and where is this money going? Why is this money going there? Like, as an accountant saying, this isn't right, bringing it up to them, and then them trying to basically smooth it all over in essence, because it's it's again a company that the Etihad Airways is a company owned by the UAE, and it's one of those things where people will often go, and this is one of the things that they try to bring out, is that they'll say quickly, oh well, CAS already adjudicated this. CAS said that we are innocent. CAS didn't say you're innocent. CAS said that some things are time barred, and that's the only reason why we can't do things against those cases.
That blew my mind, though.
Right. You've been, and which is kind of weird too, is that it's time barred. So it took a long time if it wasn't for this leak, we would have never known about it, or if this leak had happened earlier, then they would have been properly adjudicated possibly by CAS. But because it took so long to get this case to go to CAS, even though they had already been found guilty, and they went to CAS as an arbitrator in essence. That's why a lot of what we hear and a lot of what I've been saying about, I have no real sympathy for City fans and for the trouble and problems that they're in. It is what it is. This is your bed, now you've got to lie. You've made your bed, now you got to lie in it.
It almost seems like half the financial scams City's owners got up to were just really, they didn't even try hard to cover them up. It was so contemptuous, like the way they did it. It was just like, yeah, we'll do this one now and then we'll do that one, and that'll be easy. And if them dickheads notice and say anything, we'll tell them to piss off, and we'll sue them and scare them and frighten them with our lawyers. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
yeah, totally. That's what he said. They said that, Lee. They said that they said, look, we've got better lawyers, and we'll fight this for the next decade if necessary. And that's just kicking the can down the road. There was a poll done by YouGov. This was done February of 2023, asking questions about what most football fans think about the allegations against Manchester City. Overall, they said, how likely or unlikely do you think it is that Manchester City broke the Premier League financial rules? 76. This is out of 1,000 fans. 76% of them thought it's very likely. 7% said unlikely. Kind of shows you who possibly are the City fans out there. And 17% said don't know. And it's interesting because that means that 17% haven't really been listening or having a formulated opinion about this somewhat from all the information that's been thrown out there. It says, how likely or unlikely you think that Manchester City will receive some serious punishment? And that's where it's unique. And that's what the chat was just saying earlier. Only 31% say it's likely that they'll receive some type of serious punishment. 63% of the people polled said it was unlikely that they'll receive any type of real punishment, whereas 7% said don't know. You can go as far as this next. I have one more slide here. Most fans think they should be, and this is what I want to ask the chat, and then I'm going to ask you, Lee, and then the Irishman, what your opinion on this is. Most fans said, most football fans say Manchester City should be fined and dock points if they have broken Premier League financial rules. This is done by this poll, at least. Which of the following sanctions, if any, do you think are appropriate if Manchester City are found to have broken the Premier League financial rules? Okay. Please select all that apply. Okay. A financial penalty, a points deduction, a ban on signings, new players for a period of time, a ban from European competitions for a period of time, stripping any Premier League titles won during the period when the breaches allegedly occurred, relegation to a lower football league, not sure, or none of the above. 58% of them says they're going to get they're just going to end up getting a financial penalty. Points deduction, 56. 50% said a ban on signings. I was going to ask this to the chat. What do you think? And we're doing, obviously, this is all the allegations. I'm just saying, what would be a proper, from what you know and all the things that we've spoke on today, what is in your hearts do you think is a proper fine or a proper punishment if Manchester City are found guilty? They're innocent until proven guilty. I get that whole concept. But if they are found guilty, what do you think is the proper punishment? Tell me in the chat. I'll include it in our conversation. Lee, what is your feeling? Where would you what would you have taken from this list, or would you have added something as well?
For me, it's got to be relegation coupled with stripping of any of the Premier League titles they've won, stripping of everything they've won in the period, actually, of any description, whether it be here or at Wembley in a cup final or that one European thing that they got. Strip them of that. I mean, it's not like anybody actually thinks they've won them anyway. You see it, don't you? And people say it, they haven't won all at this City, you know what I mean? They've won nothing really, and yet relegate them, or if failing relegation, it's got to be like a 40-point deduction or something that they start. But it's not even, the case isn't starting though, is it, by next season? It's going to be starting next bloody November or something, I heard now. So the season will be
early November.
We'll already be in the season, so they'll have to be. They're going to be a part of the next season, even if they lose this next case, even if the case doesn't start to go well.
Slow, but you know what I mean. Right. They just keep putting it back, don't they? And we've known they were cheating for 6 or 7 years now, haven't we?
Well, what's your take, Irishman? What do you think is a
when it comes to these kind of arguments? When it comes to these kind of arguments, as you say, we're kind of working on the assumption here that they get a trump verdict, guilty on all charges, kind of thing. No, no guilty on 5 or 6, and so to get the whole gamut, to get the whole lot, boom, 115 plus the criminal charges, which would be separate to that, because there's false accounting charges, which basically is criminal act. It's regardless of whether you do it in football or you do it in an accountancy firm. False accounting is a criminal matter. So if they've been proven to do that as a result of what they've been found guilty of, That's another thing that they'll have to do. Individual clubs can then sue them, right? That's
Mhm.
another thing that people, if people are wondering about, oh, should this and that happen to clubs? Individual clubs can take the individual decision to sue them for when people talk about prize money. That will not be happening, but you can sue
Mhm.
them for it if you want to. You own a club, you think you can take a case, you can sue them, right? That would be an individual thing. So I wouldn't have that in my list, but also I don't want to, like, I'm a fan of precedent, and I think what we have precedent here, not in
Mhm.
England. Like, this is unprecedented in England, but in football it's not. And I'm with Lee
Mhm.
because we've seen it in Italy. And
Mhm.
what have they done in Italy? They have relegated and they have stripped titles. So it's precedent for that. It's been done before. It can be done. They
Mhm.
stripped Juve. Juve is
Mhm.
the most successful club in the history of Italian football, and they stripped them of titles and they relegated them to League Three. Didn't even
Mhm.
blink it.
Mhm.
In Italy, which is some people will tell you is a massively corrupt country, and you can do what you want. No, they took this is literally like taking Man United and taking their titles
Yeah.
away and sticking them in League One because they broke the
Mhm.
rules and they got caught. Down you go,
Mhm.
lads. Sorry. So that's how it should. Why can't it be like that in England?
The
Why can't they?
punishment's got to
You
be
know,
meaningful. But if we were
it
to
has to be sporting. It
transfer
has to be
ban,
sporting punishment.
a
It has to
transfer
be a
ban, I
sporting
mean,
punishment. Yeah.
or banning them from the Champions League, which would mean they could then concentrate on the
But
Premier
that's
League.
If that's UEFA doing it, UEFA would have to do that
How
action.
badly would that hurt this squad that Guardiola's got now? If they were told like you can't compete in the Champions League, it just made it be harder to win the league
Well,
off them
that's
because they wouldn't have
Lee,
any
Lee,
European competition.
Lee, real quick too. If they were to do something, like let's say hypothetically they were to win this upcoming case, well, what they would be then doing is putting themselves in jeopardy of not meeting UEFA's PSR rules. It's one thing for you to say, "Oh, hey, England, Premier League within England, hey,
Yeah.
we want these rules to be one way in our favor." But UEFA has already established their own PSR rules. So, so like it's one of those cases where you're not. There's no really getting around this. You know, there's no way really of getting around this. I've
Can I
seen
just
in the
make
chat.
one point that I should have made quickly? Can I
Yeah,
just make one point I should have made?
absolutely, absolutely.
When the Premier League broke away and became the Premier League, it became a
Uh,
separate entity from the EFL.
mhm.
So the Premier League can only relegate them. They can't say where they go. They
Right
can tell the EFL Man City now play in the
in
uh,
in the
championship.
championship.
They can
Yeah,
expel them from the Premier League,
yeah.
but the Premier League is separate. Like the EFL, the English Football League, which runs the Championship, League One,
Mm-hmm.
League Two,
Mm-hmm. League Two. Yep.
can then they actually have to agree to accept them. Like they can deny them entry.
Mm-hmm.
That could potentially be. I'm not saying they would, but the Premier League cannot decide that they've been relegated to the Championship. They can
Mm-hmm.
only expel them from the Premier League, and
Mm-hmm.
then they can, I don't know, apply to go into the champ or whatever it is. But they
Right,
actually
right.
have to. Yeah, we can't say, "Oh, ye play in League Two now." We
Because
don't
well,
have that
also it
power. The
doesn't make
Premier
it,
League
it
does.
makes it more difficult for a championship to deal with that because the championship has has three teams that they get to promote into the Premier League. Cool. And then the Premier League has three teams that they relegate into the championship. Well, if those three teams are, whatever three teams they are for next year, but yet we're saying we got four teams for you, that
They
doesn't
have to
work
make
out.
space. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to turn around to one of the League One winners and say, "Oh, sorry, you were no longer promoted because we're
Right.
taking Man City."
Right.
So they won't do that. So yeah, that's the whole thing. You're asking another club to then add a new club to their league and to
Right.
deal with that problem by
Yeah,
expelling them.
and then to deal with that problem, especially when
Very,
you're
very
telling them,
complicated.
"Hey, we've got someone that broke the laws, allegedly broke the laws,
Yeah.
but if they do get relegated, it would have obviously been adjudicated that they did break the laws, and we have someone that obviously broke the laws. So now, why don't you take our problem off our hands, and now you deal with it."
Yeah, you can't walk up to someone at the bar in your club and take them by the collar, march them out on the street and say, "You're barred, you're out here." Walk them across the road and force the club across the road to let them in. You
Right.
can't. You can kick them out on the street, say you're out, but
Mhm.
you can't tell
Mhm.
anyone else that they have to let him in. He's your
Right. And I
problem
get
now. No.
MJTO's point. He's trying to say you would just promote another team. It goes to there's a system and there's a system. It's just the point is there's a system, MKTO. That's all I'm getting at. And you're right. You could just say, oh well, now because of this, this team gets the fourth team, a fourth team gets promoted from the championship. But is that fair? Is that fair? Because
Yeah,
like
that's
not fair. Like as in, like if you got lucky in the year that it was that 4 teams got promoted instead of 3, because next year it's going back to 3.
Yeah.
That's not
You're
fair.
asking, to make adjustments for a team that broke the rules. Again, now, hey, look,
Exactly.
let's not pretend that they wouldn't love to have Man City in their league for a year.
Sure. Absolutely.
Bring up whatever it
Absolutely.
might be. But it's going to be, again, we don't like talking. It's going to be whatever it is going to be horrible and ugly and messy.
It's
And
going to be
it's just
so
going to be.
messy.
But I must say
And they're
that
not
it's looking.
and they're not going to go.
No.
They're going to put up a fight, and they're going to put up a fight, and they're going to make it very, very. Dealing with the lawyers that they deal with. I'll allow for you to finish, Josh. I don't mean to cut over you. I was just saying.
Cool.
Dealing with the lawyers and the high prices, $5,000 an hour style lawyers or whatever it is that they have, dealing with those kind of lawyers, trust me, they're going to figure out ways to make this painful for the league. They're going to make it painful. And the only people that are a lot of the people that are going to be hurt from this are us, the fans. Let's just be honest, because this story is not going to go away. If anything, it's obviously getting worse. And it's why I keep stressing again, whether it's Chelsea, whether it was Chelsea, whether it's obviously with City, you have to keep it honest and truthful in not allowing for narratives to be brought up or created, whereas then you look over those periods of error or those errors and pretend as though these things never happened. I think that we do a certain injustice to ourselves by not saying, Chelsea did they did this and they dominated that and all these different little things. And I'm like, yeah, but they cheated. It's the same way of saying it would be almost like the same thing of saying Lance Armstrong is the greatest cyclist of all time. He cheated. And that's coming from an American, talking about an American. He cheated. That's a disgrace. And yeah, everything that he won is tarnished and should be. But there are people out there that pretend that even though it's tarnished, they don't even acknowledge the tarnishing of those accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a disservice. You got to call that. You've got to be strict and call that out. Don't allow for that to just pass over and just be like, oh, well, they won it on the field and they did this. Yes, I understand that. But they cheated. They cheated. And that's something that you have to keep them true. You have to keep people truly honest about. And we as well, again, I'll get off my little soapbox here. We do a disservice to ourselves, to the game, by pretending that they didn't, by allowing for them to have cheated and just we'll just shrug it off and allow for things to continue to go on naturally. That's a disservice. I'm not going to allow for that. At least I'm not going to allow for that on my watch, apparently. But
It's
again,
dark summer, this one, because the integrity of the whole thing's on life support, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it is on life support at the moment. Like, isn't it? Like, there's an outline of a corpse on the floor.
mhm. Yeah. I'll make sure that I put up. Yeah, Philip said relegation
Ooh,
is
well,
what he would do. MK relegate and strip their titles. Honesty says strip them and relegate them to Sunday League and let them pay back every club 300 million in damages. High Lord says Chelsea recently got away with breaching the PSR rules by selling assets, hotels, and property to one of their other companies, and thereby avoided any penalty. It's easy to get away with these things. That's scary. That's really, really scary.
yeah.
Really scary. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, Irishman? And I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
no, I was just thinking there that like this is, to me, it's very similar to obviously what's going on with Trump over the last few years. We've seen that people have realized that kind of dumb shit tactics can kind of work, and I think what what they do is they create this enormous comedy clown show that's so bizarre and hilarious and ridiculous that people don't notice all the actual evil that's going on in the background, which is what City kind of do, where they create this big show and it's all about the titles and the Kevin De Bruyne's and the Haalands and the Guardiolas and the Champions Leagues, and yeah, just don't look in the back room, just look up here, so that is pretty much what they've been doing. But there was a really good piece that was done on one of the late night shows there, I think the other day, and who've been great. Don't get me wrong, they've made their career out of Donald Trump and laughing at him and doing skits about him, but they pointed out the fact that this guy he gets convicted on all charges, and he said this just shows you that at the end of the day, courtrooms still work. The law still works. Courtrooms still work, because they
Yeah.
did this comparison and they showed all of the things that the Trump people that were involved in that said outside of court and will say in a sort of,
I saw that too. I saw exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yep.
and like a list of the things they will not say once they're actually inside a courtroom, because they know the law is
Right.
actually still. They like to pretend they can get away with this stuff, but it
Yeah.
was stark. It's the kind of like Lee was
Yeah.
talking about this being on life support. This showed that this gives you gives you heart that when you get into a courtroom, even if you are this guy who thinks he can get away, tries to convince everyone that he can get away with everyone just by telling them that he can get away with anything. Well, when it comes down to it, when you go into a courtroom with a jury, the law still is there. It's still there. So that's what I still hold out hope with this city thing, is that for all their bluster and for all their diversion tactics, which is what they're doing at the moment, and for all their obvious, obfuscation, coming out and saying, if you want to charge us, well, we'll get the best lawyers in the world and we'll drag you to court for 10 years, because that's what innocent people do and say. It's from day one, everyone knew the story was. So I'm still sitting here hopefully saying, when all their shite comes down to it, all their money spent and all their throwing stuff at the wall to distract people, they'll eventually will have to have their day in court. And if they've done it, they will be found guilty by independent peers, and it comes out. I'm wholly confident that will happen. I still am.
Yeah, sort of. It's just a nightmare scenario that a lot of us have dwelled upon, that nothing real's going to happen, but surely it will, because it has to. If it doesn't, we are sunk, aren't we? It's our national sport. I don't want to sound jingoistic and go, it's a British game, but this island did invent it. We did spawn it, and it just looks bad for our national game. You know what I mean? You don't expect it so much here. We did have. It does sound a little bit weird, but do you know where I'm coming from? About
No, it
that
doesn't
one,
sound weird at all, man. But Lee,
yeah.
this is what happens when you invite a tiger to tea. They invited the tiger to tea. Guess what? Oh, let's let in these boys, these royal families. They've got a lot of money, but they'll be cool. They'll respect the game. Nope. Do you think this is just the end of it? This isn't the end of it. If they're prepared to do this kind of crap, what else do you think they're going to be prepared to do to get their way? To try and do what they want. I mean, 10 years' time, we're going to be talking about, like, this will be old news in 10 years' time. There'll be God knows what else.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of chilling that this is, this is the summer that we have. We have this will be the a big story of the summer as we lead into the Euros, into Copa, and then we have the privilege, if you want to call it that, of having to deal with go back in and deal with the other court case, or I don't even know if it's going to be deemed as being a court case, because I know that they're talking about getting a 3-judge panel and having it be similar to the cast situation where they have to both parties have to agree on the panel or the judges. They have to agree on the 3 judges or something.
Yeah, it's much more of a tribunal situation. These aren't court cases with juries and shit. It's you need the experts. It draws panels and tribunals and independent stuff. Yeah, it's always 3 guys. Yeah, and then they'll argue about that for 2 months.
Yep.
Who the 3 guys should be? They'll just spend 50 grand a day on lawyers just to argue about that for 3 months.
Yep. And that's the beauty of good lawyers. All respect due to my brother and my sister-in-law, who are both lawyers. But yeah, how that. But it's funny. Trust me, I having a conversation at the dinner table, at the family meal with my
You're
brother.
Like, am I on the clock here? Am I on the clock with this guy? Did I just ask him an official question? I'm going to get a bill next week.
Exactly. Oh man, yep, exactly. Because one deals with litigation law, and it gets crazy. It's one of those situations where lawyers aren't exactly the highest acclaimed profession out there when it comes to being shown love. Yeah, you need when you need them, they're your best friends. But otherwise, But yes, there's 2 things I wanted to bring up before we land and allow for people to go onto their final destinations here.
It's a Friday night.
It's a Friday night. We don't want to hold you guys down. You want to allow for you guys to get your party on, or whatever it is that you guys got deemed for your Fridays, your TGIFs. As I put in the chat, I put in that we will be doing a center back deep dive. So if there is a center back out there that you want me to research or try to get some scouting reports on, or to include in the conversation, do so by putting their names in the comments. That'd be appreciative. Their name might already be in the list already, but just in case they're not, please do include them, and I'll be sure to do my due diligence in researching them if I don't know about them already. And also tomorrow, I will be doing something a little bit. It's a little bit of a personal thing, in the sense of I will be doing a watch along for Colombia versus U.S. men's national team. So get a chance to watch Lucho go against my beloved USMNT. So I will be doing a little watch along for that tomorrow. If you guys are interested in tuning in and joining me for that, you're more than welcome. I understand that you might not. I know it's not England, who is apparently playing now. I believe I didn't even realize they're playing another friendly, I believe, today. I saw earlier that they're down 1-0 already.
I think they're playing Israel.
Does anyone have an update on the score?
I was going to say they're playing Israel. Are they playing Israel?
Are they playing Israel? I don't know.
Iceland,
Someone
I
said
think
it
it
said
is.
like Ireland or something like that. Maybe they meant
Iceland,
Israel.
Iceland. Yeah, that's what I
Iceland.
saw. I saw someone saying ISL. I thought maybe Iceland. So they're playing Iceland. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
No,
Fair enough.
Colombia, USA doesn't sound like a bad game, actually, Twelve. I'm
What
always
time is that,
interested
UK?
in Canada, USA, and Mexico trying to beat the South American teams. You know, so
Mhm.
North America versus South America. I'm always interested how Mexico, USA, and Canada do when they play like Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, and that
Right. Yeah.
North-South thing like on the Americas.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
know what
Iceland.
time
It
it
is
is?
Iceland.
UK?
It is at
Do you know what time
tomorrow.
that
The
is?
game is
UK?
at your time. It would be 8 p.m. I believe.
Oh,
I think
that's
it's 8
cool.
p.m.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, that's basically the same. That's showtime, basically. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's showtime for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So like, yeah, I thought it'd be kind of cool to like definitely get in a little bit of. I get that it's this
Is
side of the
everyone fit?
hemisphere. This is that.
Everyone fit? Yeah. Is
Yeah.
everyone fit? Is Diaz? Is he? They're all like?
Diaz will be playing, yeah, or at least I believe he should be playing. Look, Diaz was one of the most important, if not the most important player on Colombia. Also,
Is this
Colombia currently is on an incredible win streak. To be honest with you,
a
Colombia
competitive
has,
game?
yeah, it's a
Is
friendly.
it a
Tomorrow's a
competitive?
friendly.
Oh, I was wondering. I was thinking they're very quick into it. Yeah. Okay. So it's like it's a
It is,
warm up for the Copa thing.
but it's a warm up for Copa basically
Oh,
because
I get you. Okay. Yeah.
because Colombia and both the U.S. team are going to both be in Copa America and with Copa America. Currently, Colombia is a dark horse favorite out there for actually getting some glory from
They're
the tournament.
always a competitive national team, aren't they, Colombia? They've always got enough good players to be half decent and have a reasonable side. They're never
Yeah.
terribly piss poor, are they? Like I haven't seen a Colombia side that is really bad. So I've seen better ones than others, but they've always got a half decent side, haven't they? They've got enough good players to cobble together, usually an 11 that can get results and get them a little bit of traction. Like they've never done that well at the World Cup, I have to say. Colombia, they've always sort of flopped at the World Cup a bit, but they are a decent side usually, aren't they, to watch? Or they've got a decent
The Valderrama, Higuita, Asprilla type era team. That was probably when they peaked. But then, like you had the more recent. Yeah, you had the more recent kind of James Rodriguez team that did well. But yeah, they always have like one or two really good, but they never have like six.
I'm sorry.
But they always kind of drop a little bit short. They usually have one or two of the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, they usually have like one or two of the best players in the world. In top 20, 30 players. Like they always have at least one or two like seriously good footballers. But I think the most they ever had at any one time, I think, was that like 90 to 94 World Cup type team. Probably.
Yeah, that listed with good players, wasn't it? It was just the right time for them then.
Yeah, that was like Higuita and Valderrama and Asprilla. They had like one, and they had good defenders as well. They had Aladir, not Aladir. Well, they had the guy that ended up getting
I loved Asprilla. When Asprilla was at Newcastle, I loved him.
Oh, that was when stuff was only starting to get a bit spicy in the Premier League. We had like some tricky, good foreigner players before, but Asprilla was just out of this world, like triple somersault celebrations, the whole lot. Like,
oh yeah.
Total show.
As a player.
Oh, he was like James Brown or something when he was celebrating. This guy was just like, I'm just here to entertain. I'm not here to. I'm just like I'm here to football. Second, number one, I'm here to entertain people. That's it.
By the way, let me say this too. I was just making sure if you are typing or you are putting out make sure it's Colombia. You'll never hear the end of it if you spell Colombia wrong. I corrected that
Colombia.
once. I was typing
Colombia.
really fast. Yeah.
Colombia. Not Colombia.
Right, right.
Colombia.
There's the District of Columbia. I think I might have frozen there. District of Columbia, which is Columbus, where it's basically right, or DC. District of Columbia is the capital of America, right? But like,
but it's also
Columbia. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely do not. If you come across Colombian and you misspell that, they will let you know. Trust me, they will let you know. Yeah. You're lucky that Chris Angel isn't in the chat.
No, just go with the Shakira, Colombia.
There you go.
Like she makes, she makes up for the last 20 years of, she's represented Colombia. They may not have a great football team, but they've had Shakira. She's picked up in a big way.
Sofia Vergara is also Colombian. So there you go. Very beautiful. They have a very beautiful very beautiful people that are.
Shakira, she only just recently divorced Piqué too. Piqué or Ramos? I always forget. No, it's Piqué. It was Piqué, right?
Yeah, she was married. Married to him.
Yeah, she married Piqué.
Yeah.
I always just forget when
right around the World Cup, in South Africa. I remember
a couple of years ago.
Yeah. He did it dirty.
Oh, did he?
Allegedly.
Oh, well, come on.
Yeah.
Again, allegedly, a lot of allegedly. Yeah, tonight. Yeah, this whole show is basically allegedly.
This whole show is alleged.
Who
even alleged?
Shakira? I mean, honestly, who cheats on Shakira? I mean, come on.
Hey,
I like the Colombian taxi driver lady in Pulp Fiction. Is that your name? That's some handle, that, honey. Esmeralda Villalobos. Yeah, the name is Spanish, but I'm Colombian. Butch.
There you go.
Butch. I like it. What does it mean?
Yeah.
Great movie, by the way. Great movie. Pulp Fiction. One of the great. One of his definitely his jewels of his collection for sure.
There's not a word wasted in the dialogue, is there? It's also
it's perfect.
It's perfect. Dialogue.
Yeah, it is part. Like he introduced the whole concept of cool soundtracks. Just made up of random. The idea of I think the whole idea was every song is almost introduced by someone changing the station on a radio, tuning in into the radio, and getting into a car. But they get into a car, they turn on the engine, and the radio comes on, and a song is playing. That's how a lot of the songs are introduced, or it's by someone walks into a room and turns on a radio, and whatever song is playing is playing. These songs don't come in on like a soundtrack. That's unique.
Unique in that even when you hear you turning the dial and it's like going through the static to get to that station. That's a little. I'm definitely dating myself there by saying that. I do.
Me too.
I do. I do enjoy that kind of like you're searching and looking for. Yeah.
Do you remember that song? I think it was. It's not Deftones. It's the Replacements. Is it Left to the Dial? Remember that song "Left to the Dial" from the 90s? There's always been like how in America, college radio was always left to the dial. If you wanted to change to look for indie songs, or just change left to the So it's like the idea. Yeah, those radio days of just changing, and you get to a new town, having to like readjust the radio to the local stations to what you're listening to. Yeah, cool. No, we are dating ourselves.
Who sings that song again?
The Buggles.
There you go.
Trevor Horn.
Do you remember that, Lee? Remember that song?
First video ever shown on MTV.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. I love talking of like Tarantino, Little Green Bag, George Baker selection from Reservoir Dogs from the beginning. Boom, 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 boom,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that song. Yeah, yeah.
right at the beginning. I love that one. It's such a tune that it bounces
Because
along.
it
That
takes
one
it
loud.
kind of takes a upward, like upward
Yeah,
step in the beat
yeah,
and
yeah,
the melody
yeah.
after they get through the bass of it all.
Gets you in the
That's a good
mood
song.
for the film,
Oh,
doesn't it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he nearly like he was going with the same idea in Reservoir Dogs with the
Uh-huh.
soundtrack. Like that soundtrack over here, right, in Ireland, because back then,
Mhm.
movies, yada yada. There was for every 100 people that had seen Reservoir Dogs, there was a
Mhm.
1,000 people that had heard the soundtrack. The soundtrack was bigger than the
Yeah,
movie
yeah, I agree. I
because it
agree.
was
I agree.
easier to get a tape. Like, oh,
Mhm.
did you go to the cinema and see it? No, I didn't. It's not out on video yet. It was Reservoir Dogs. It wasn't they didn't show that in the cinema in Waterford, small town, right? Graphic, gory
Yeah.
movie. But everybody had the bloody tape and the soundtrack. It's so cool. Everyone had heard it. But have you seen the movie? Oh no, not actually.
Yep. Oh,
Had heard the soundtrack. It was one of those
mhm.
things. It was the same with Train Spotting. Everyone had heard the
Oh,
soundtrack
yeah, yeah,
before
yeah,
the movie
yeah.
came out.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Put it this way, I bought the
Oh,
soundtrack for Train Spotting. I didn't buy the DVD for soundtrack for Train Spotting, but I bought the soundtrack for Train Spotting,
yeah,
you know.
that
Yeah.
was a party classic. If like you were at a party kind of in the 90s, and because in at that stage, like a very easy be, especially like for me, easy be at a party with people who were into guitar music and people who were into
Mhm.
dance music and
Mhm.
people who were into both and people who didn't like both. And you could
Mhm.
kind of, there was some things you put on and you could just put on the Spotting soundtrack and everyone would be kind of happy. And there'd be two or three
Mhm.
songs that everyone would love, but that just got played at every single fucking party over and over and
Oh,
over.
yeah, yeah, because you
Especially
could
when
put that
Boris came
on
in.
because it was a
And the
Boris
early
variety.
would
It was
start
a big
playing.
early
enough of variety
songs,
of songs. It was a big enough
yeah.
variety of
Yeah.
songs to have like it was almost like putting on a mixtape in essence. I know
And
that's
when
also
Lust
dating.
exactly when Lust for Life came on, the whole party kicked off, and it was good. As soon as Lust for Life comes on, boom, 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 boom. Everyone
Yeah.
goes nuts for that. So, and it
And
even
the
has a couple of
Underworld
chill out
one,
bits.
Born Slippy.
Yeah, huge tunes. Absolutely, like that break in Born Slippy,
Hmm.
ridiculous. When it's
Yeah.
building up, and then that bass comes in. That was like I know for a fact. Born Slippy, I know there's three people who hated dance music and never wanted anything to do with it. They heard Born Slippy, and within 2 months, they were up all night in raves purely because of that song. They'd never heard
I
anything like
love
it before.
dance
Yeah,
music has a little nostalgia thing, but even though it's something I cherished as a teenager and in my early 20s and was massively into that rave culture stuff as a teenager slash young man, I don't listen to it when I'm sitting at home on my own. I don't go, I listen to some dance music from
no,
1990 or 1992. I just don't do that. But
never.
once in a while, I'll listen to maybe two or three, just like standout ones from, say, 90 or 91 that I can really remember from the club down the road. There's a good club down the road here in Liverpool, and just a few of the standout tunes. I'll have them. Usually there'll be alcohol. It'll be like a few cans and maybe a smoke, like, and I'll put a few on, like, and relive the old times and bop
Okay.
around the room.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
No.
like
No doubt.
12. I'll tell you, man. I did it for years. I did it for years and years and years. I ran nightclubs,
Mhm.
heavy, hard techno, all kinds of dance, and
Mm.
I don't listen to it. I never liked it. I've always been an indie head. I've always been a guitar band guy.
Yeah,
That's my stuff. But
yeah.
but even now, I don't because that was happening. It was inevitable, and I was just unfortunately for me, I was like 20 when it was happening, so I had no choice. I had to get into it
Mhm.
because it was. So that's it. But I left it all behind. The only stuff I listened to was the stuff that I listened to back then, which is ambient stuff a lot. And
Mm.
even
Mhm.
then, where I don't even go, but I can't. all that club stuff. I never once in my life did that dance for 8 hours thing. Well, I might have done it once or twice, but it was
Oh
never
God,
me.
flip
Yeah,
along
never.
the
That stuff. But yeah, I can't listen. Yeah, like if an old tune comes on radio, like some old banger, like definitely. But just the stuff that people used to listen to back then that they could listen to for like 3-4 hours.
Well, the thing
They
is,
don't
you
listen to that
always
now.
had
Those people don't listen to that music now. They
you
couldn't.
always
They
had
couldn't put it on.
yeah. There was always like a after the club thing, so you'd be out at a club all night and all through the early hours of the morning, and then after it had finished, you bail back to somebody's house, apartment, and the Skins had come out, the original had come out. But I never liked just listening to the house, the club music then and carrying it on, boom, boom. I always wanted something chilled then when I was sitting off having a joint like after the club and
That's my world.
energy
Yeah,
for
that's my
10
world.
hours. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
so I
Is
wanted something like chilled. But like other people
uh
would get offended that you wouldn't play, like the dance music anymore in your
mhm.
house, and you're like, well, this is my house. If you don't want to listen to Pink Floyd or Frank Zappa, piss off. Get out my house.
um I just saw that how do you pronounce his name? Is it Gahi? Is it Gahi?
Yep.
J G that's how you pronounce it, right?
Mhm.
Kwanzaa is apparently warming up. Is Gahi hurt, or is he honesty, or is he because Kwanzaa and Cujo didn't make the final list.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're not going to make the final cut to go to Euros. Um, but if Gahi is really really hurt, I know that they might still be able. I think they might be able to do a provisional style like addition to put him in back into the lineup. Who knows?
Is he the only other option, is he, Giroud? Or is
I
there other centre backs?
I think he's the only. I think he is. Or at least he's the only other option that has been that I think he's the only other viable option that has been I guess you could say cut from the list, cut down from the list.
I'll be made up for him to
Oh,
get
he's
Oh,
him.
up
they're,
now.
yeah, they're saying
Uh,
Maguire is not going to be fit. That's what
mm,
they're saying, wasn't it? Like, so he
Yeah,
wouldn't
he's
bring
not.
him because he
Yeah,
wouldn't be fit for any of the group stage games.
right.
So if someone did get injured, it's not
Oh,
like
I'm
you
not
could
even.
bring Maguire back. You'd
He's
have
back
to
to
bring
running.
back Kwanzaa, you'd imagine.
I agree with you, Mark. I
Uh,
don't think that Gahi is better than Kwanzaa, to be honest with you. I just
I
think
just
that
think Gay gets it because he's got a lot more games. He plays a lot
exactly
more
as
games
I
on
was about to
this
get to.
season.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's like
all
a
he makes.
seniority thing. It's just a seniority thing with that. In that
Yeah, I'm thinking he's probably looking at that going, look, you boys chill out because you keep going
you'll
the
have
way
your
you are.
opportunities.
You're going
Yeah,
to be the future. You and you gay like in the next basically well, this is basically probably the last tournament for Stones, Maguire,
yeah,
Mhm.
Trippier. Like
they're
there's
too
going to be a
old.
new breed now of
Yeah.
English centre half coming through, and it's Joel Kwanzaa is definitely going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
He keeps
absolutely.
going the way he is, and he's going to be going to tournaments. It's just maybe this one's just coming too
Joey
soon for him.
Joey just got because Joey got I heard that Joey got subbed in earlier. I'm not watching the game, so that's why I'm just asking questions here. And I most likely won't watch it on replay,
No,
to be
me
honest
not.
with you. But Joey, I saw got
Oh,
subbed in with Trent
what's the
earlier.
score, by the way?
It's still one
What is
nothing. I was told 20. There was at
are
least
they're
20
still
minutes
losing?
left. Yeah, it was like I would
Oh, come
assume like
on.
probably like close to 10, 15 minutes left in the game. But there was but is Joey playing? I would just are they putting? Did they put Trent back into the midfield? And did they? Are they play? Or are they playing it right back? Oh, Trent is that right back? Okay. And is Joey then playing center back then, or is he playing left back? Where? It's unique. It's
I really
a unique situation they have in England with a lot of the choices that they've made. And to have it all be reliant upon Southgate, picking and choosing where and how they get played is even more interesting.
After
Yeah,
Trent
look,
only returning to the Liverpool side at the end of the season, I am glad he's getting some England games, just to play, because he missed a long, didn't he, Trent? He come back for the last 2 games, was it, Trent?
Yeah, yeah.
After about 2.5 months out. So it's good for him to get some games. It'd be nice for Kwanzaa. I'm not worried about them being worn out and
He is
overtired,
playing
Trent
left
or
back. Okay.
Kwanzaa. Gomez had a strenuous season, like he played a lot. But again, it's good for them, isn't it? If they want to play for the national team picks them. You can't
Mhm.
argue. Like, even though sometimes I prefer them not to be picked and other players from other clubs to be risked injury
yeah,
wise. But like, it is good for
exactly.
the player, isn't it? Like, it's always good for the player's development and mentality to be picked for the national team.
If they want to, like you said, Lee,
Oh,
if it means, like, I know, like, for a lot of these guys, like, it really does mean something. And especially these days, it kind of means probably a bit more to your bank account. As an international player in England, regular, yada yada yada. But if they're not that interested, yeah, like, I'm fine with them. Like, I never get offended by England not picking Liverpool players. I'm like, yeah, give them a summer off.
I actually kind of
Like, every time
prefer
we
it, to be
go
honest with
away,
you.
yeah, every
I
time we
mean,
send a
look,
player away with England, they get broken and they come back broken.
yeah,
So
Joey G. Everyone talks about the injuries. Joey G got injured while on international break. Trent got injured while on international break at one time. Like
Gomez injury was when Van Dijk and Matip were injured as well, and they were the only three centre halves we had. It just
yeah,
made it even that
Salah,
much.
Salah at AFCON, Salah at
yep,
AFCON,
Salah at AFCON.
look, I don't, but I mean, look, I'm not having a go with that, but I just mean, like, if someone, like, they do whatever, right, and they go for England and they're like the number one dude, right, that's cool, right? But what I fucking really don't like is when we send, like, some guy away and he plays like 12 minutes in 2 games and he comes back injured. He's not even one of their main people. They're not even really that interested. They just take him
Right.
just
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
him
He's just kind of
on
like
top and
filling.
come back
Yeah.
injured.
He's like a
Yeah.
filler,
Yeah, he's not
player. Yeah.
Harry Kane, or it's not like, I don't know, whoever. It's not Jude Bellingham. It's just, yeah, they just pick our two guys, and the two, like Jones and Gomez, and they both come back broken. Like, they got
Yeah.
8 minutes between them. They come back injured.
It's
I
a
just
worry, isn't it? Whether they're going and
1-0,
playing somewhere else in
77.
Europe or they're
Okay.
going to South
77.
America or Asia, it's a worry when they go, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. Usually when you go into those preseason games, though, you're going to have cases where the majority of the players they're going to get 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops, maybe something like that. They're not really getting like real.
They're not going in for tackles either.
Yeah,
Don't
they're not.
best
Yeah,
believe these guys are playing on low battery settings.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not sprinting. They're not getting themselves hurt. Like,
Or you get a case where like you get the Newcastle. Remember how Newcastle this previous they went and got beat 8-0, I think it was. Wasn't it 8-0, I believe? They went down to Australia on a preseason game, but they brought like no.
Oh, okay.
I remember looking at the lineup and I couldn't name one player on the lineup. It was more like it was Newcastle, yes, but it was like all Newcastle's like youth academy or like
Newcastle,
players.
Australia.
Yeah. Did you know about that?
No, I don't. Yeah, was that like last preseason?
It was just recent.
Oh, yeah, like a
It was
load
like
of, like,
a
John
week or two ago, I want to say.
Michael
I have,
O'Neill on the team. But
yeah.
yeah, no one wants to get hurt in a preseason, or well, what would you call these pre-tournament warm-up friendlies? I suppose you'd call them.
Yeah,
and then missing that tournament because you went in too hard in a tackle. They're not going to risk it. So it's going to be drab games. These are the worst kind of games. Players really just terrified of getting injured. Or you've got those one or two guys that know if I have a good game tonight, I might get in the team. So you maybe got one or two guys running around like lunatics trying to do really well. Whereas the likes of Trent and Bellingham are just walking through the game going, don't kick me, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously, don't kick me.
Yeah.
No heavy tackles tonight.
Yeah. The Newcastle game was I put it in there. It was like it's a postseason friendly in Melbourne. They lost to an A-League All-Star team. You know how they like they do sometimes they do it with like
build up a bit of Aussie fan base kind of thing, maybe. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
Newcastle? Are they trying to build up a bit of a base?
Absolutely.
8-0.
These teams are they know that the Australian fan base is an incredible fan base.
We got it locked up though. We have Australia locked up. Look at the demographics for Australia. It's literally 99% Liverpool fans. That's it. We're huge over there. Like we are literally. There's ACDC, Australian shit, and then us. That's the three biggest things in Australia. No other football club comes close. So yeah, good luck Newcastle. That's all I'll say.
And it wasn't even just all Australia. It was like Australia and New Zealand's Premier Leagues. It was an all-star team of Australia's Premier League and New Zealand's Premier League put together. But they lost 8-0, and it was kind of embarrassing, despite the fact that albeit it wasn't any real starter for Newcastle, but they're out there and
obviously Isak and Bruno, and we're assuming Isak and Bruno and the boys weren't there, obviously, but even then, 8-0, lads.
8-0. Yeah, it was embarrassing.
What would you boys both think? Because I've been on this train for a while, because just don't plain like the guy, but Eddie Howe, will he be? How long would you give him at Newcastle? Regardless, and I would almost say, regardless of results.
He's got this year, obviously coming up, but they're going in the wrong direction. I'll tell you that much. But he is a coach. I know people are
obviously, by the way, who opinions on Eddie Howe in the chat? Do you think he's the long term for Newcastle, or?
I don't think it's the long term. I think much like we see a lot of cases when it comes to the Premier League, I think even if I think Newcastle realizes that if they were to let Eddie Howe go, Eddie Howe will find another position or another coaching spot in the Premier
League. He's not gonna never work again, but.
Well, I'm not saying they wouldn't work again, but I'm just saying that the way that the Premier League is set up, is that you could do poorly and you'll still find yourself getting another gig.
But do you think for them, what do you think about for them? What do you think they keep him? I don't
No, I think he'll go. I think he'll go sooner rather than later, Brian.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't fit, does it? Because if you look at what they're buying, they're trying to buy Rolls Royces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Howe is a bit of a Ford Mondeo, right? He's solid. He's rock solid, right? He is a car, right? He is a football manager, right. But they want Ferraris and Bugattis and Lamborghinis. They want a Mourinho 15 years ago is what they want.
But
to me,
Eddie Howe demands. Who on that team demands?
He's done.
Wait one second. Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this question, and then you guys can both answer. Who on that team commands a presence like that? If you're as in there's reasons why Manchester United have issues because they have head cases like Bruno or
No, and when I say Mourinho, I meant the manager.
No, I get that. No, I get that. What I'm trying to ask is who on the pitch demands
has a
high
Mourinho type.
caliber, yeah, like coach that you don't that you really can't check and say, well, look, man, I make 5 times.
Oh yeah, I kind of a medals on it. Yeah, I get. Yeah, I think I was saying
what I'm
like
saying?
who in that. Yeah. Like I think they want their Man City. I just think when they go back to the Middle East or they go to these places and they go, Eddie Howe is our coach, and people are going to be literally Eddie who.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, for them, they want a word. They want someone goes, oh, I've heard. I don't even like football, but I know who Jose Mourinho is, or I know who is, or who Pep Guardiola is. So I just think that's the next step for them logically is to get. But again, like we've been speaking about, these guys actually really aren't out there at the moment. So I think that might give a bit.
They're not out there. They're not out there. We've been wanting to do that. We've been wanting to do that episode for a while too. Now is that whole like what coaches are out there? There's really, I mean, look, the sheer fact that Bayern Munich is going out there and hiring a coach that just got relegated from the Premier League as their head coach says a lot. I think he is going to do decent. Actually, I don't think he's going to do poorly in the Bundesliga. By the way, I actually do think he's going to do well. But
it's 50-50, dude. He's either gone in 3 months or it works.
But it goes. But that's the reason why I asked that earlier question. It's the reason why I asked that earlier question, and the chat can tell us as well. We're just sitting on the tarmac here, just kind of chatting. We got the door to the cockpit open. So like, it's a matter of in that locker room, does he command your respect? And some of those players will give it to him because they played with them, or played either with them on the same team, or maybe or at some level, right, whether it's the national team or whether it's they might respect him because he was the captain and all those types of concepts or angles that you could bring out. But that's why I asked, like Eddie Howe Eddie Howe's fortunate because he doesn't have to deal with. There's no one on that Newcastle team where I'm like, oh, he's the one that could march into the gaffer's office and be like, and start yelling at him, or he's not. There's some players that will turn around to the coach and actually get in their faces, and there's and argue their point. There's others that'll just be like, yeah, I'll pick that battle another time. And I think that Eddie Howe is not that guy that demands that kind of respect. I don't know if Company is either, but I think that there's no player on Newcastle that really makes me go, oh yeah, Gordon's going to be that guy, or Isaac's going to be that guy. Maybe Joe Linton, but I mean, like, other than just because he's just a.
I think Bruno.
Or Bruno G.
I think Bruno could sit there, or I think maybe Isaac. But I get what you're saying. Like they're not. They don't have a dressing room full of proven world-class stars that have gone out and bought. That can turn around to him and say, "You're not doing things right. You're not doing." Maybe one or two, like definitely one or two.
They don't even have like they're like younger players like a Sancho, like in the sense of getting in the face of the or going back against whatever the coach is saying.
But the problem is what you just said. They've gone backwards.
Oh, they absolutely have.
They're not in the Champions League. If they were in, like, they're not. They didn't challenge for the title. They're not in the.
I can see Eddie Howe taking over England if Southgate went away.
I could see that actually, because there aren't a lot of English candidates. If you're going with an Englishman, there aren't a lot of candidates.
Well, yeah,
I think Eddie Howe did what he wanted them to, which was to steady the ship, because they were in the relegation zone when he took over, weren't they? And the Saudis bought it. I think Newcastle were in the drop zone, and he brought them up out of that. they got the top four, mainly because of the poor performance of us and Chelsea, but it gave them a sniff, give their fans a snifter of going away in the Champions League. It gave their owners a snifter of the glory of playing in the Champions League against big names like Dortmund, etc. And they want more of that. And he's not the one who's going to be able to give them it. He won't be able to finish in fourth place again, and mate, no chance, no way. So we're going to get a new man, I think.
It's also about players out there, isn't it? It's about players out there going, I always want to play for Jurgen Klopp. I want to play for Pep Guardiola. I want to play. No one's out there going to want to play for Eddie Howe. So it all comes down to money at the end of the day. It does come down to money at the end of the day. But they got their transfers wrong. They got their transfers, but they got early. You're right. They got to the Champions League ahead of schedule because a couple of people did have bad seasons. And then instead of kind of improving on that, I thought, well, that's it now. They'll just put some money in, they'll solidify, and they'll be cool. But they got Tonali badly wrong. Then they had a lot of injuries. They did, in fairness. Trippier, Botman, a lot of these guys were out, but they got injuries hit them, and they got their transfers badly wrong. So now they're back probably to square one again, having not really. Now Isaac and Bruno can go right. No, we might. If we got 2 consecutive years Champions League, we could potentially stay here. Now they're going to go. No, look. You guys in 3-4 years, no doubt you're going to be doing stuff, no doubt, man. But I've done my stint here, raised your profile a little bit. People can see that the likes of me will go to a club like you now. But I've got my career to think about. I'm 26 or 27. I want to go to Barca, Real Madrid, and they want me. Those boys are not staying at Newcastle. That's just not. It's just going to happen.
Well,
they can try and hang on to him.
They're most likely not. Yeah.
No, they can try and hang on to him, but it won't be a happy atmosphere.
Right.
They're going to have to build slowly now. They're going to have, because we saw the FSR or the PSR stuff. Yeah, they got to sell somebody.
There's points, and I'm gonna make 3 points real quick, and I'll let Lee chime in too. Bernie says, what's Eddie Howe won? He improves players to a point, and that's it. What I was also include is you don't have many players within the Newcastle system, like for us, for Curtis Jones, or for Manchester City with Foden, or with United with Manu, right? Like those kind of players, or even I think of the Chelsea example I was going to use, but there's some players that have grown up with the club and they have some allegiance. Gallagher, yes, they have some allegiance to the club, so they will tend to want to stay with that club simply because the club helped their progression, and they've created their brand and everything else along with the team and the club and such. That doesn't really exist at Newcastle with any of the players that I can think of that are high profile names, at least. And then, just like you said, with the not getting into Europe, what's even worse about that is with Newcastle, this was a year, if anything, last year was somewhat of an anomaly. I get Newcastle beat us to the pulp to get to 4th place to get into the Champions League, and they did it by holding on to a lot of draws. They had their defense held them down last year, or 2 years ago now, considering last year was last year. But this year was a year where you had a Chelsea fall off. You had a Manchester United fall off, and yet you still couldn't get Europe. That is a concern if you're Newcastle, in my humble opinion, because now you have teams. It'd be one thing if you were still at the caliber and fighting with Arsenal, Liverpool, City. Okay, but you're not. you're not even competing against really United. You're not really at
They're
United.
just not that good a side, mate. Their best 11 on their best day, it's just still not that good a side. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
said, they got a lot of draws and that when they finish fourth or whatever. They're not
Hmm.
that good a side, and they find it hard to beat other top sides. I mean, they never beat us, do they? When do they ever beat us? It just never happens. They never
Yeah.
beat City. They rarely beat Chelsea or
Mhm.
United that
Home
often.
or away. Home or away. They rarely win against some of these teams. I mean, one thing if you just can't win at their fixture, but
Mm.
they don't win even at home against
Yeah,
these
everyone
teams.
goes there and
Yeah.
wins, don't they? Everyone wins up there out of us, City, Chelsea, like Arsenal. Everyone goes up there and wins 1-0 or
Yeah.
2-1.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
Like they spent,
that's just my opinion with Newcastle situation, and Eddie Howe factors into it a little bit because you might have, if hypothetically, and I'll let you go on Irishman after this one.
no,
If you had, let's say you had Big Ange, hypothetically, let's say Ange took over or was the coach at Newcastle,
oh,
what
he's
he's
aspiration.
doing, what he's doing with Spurs,
Mm.
I don't know if that's going to like correlate to Newcastle because like he's
Oh, the fans would
demanding.
love him.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, the fans would
I
love him.
like him. I think
They
he's
would.
great.
Fans would love him up there. Yeah,
Mm.
I think he's a good. Since you said that, I just thought Ange for Newcastle is a great shout because he's just such a kind of a people person, and they love whether it worked, football wise or what. But yeah, just kind of that just worked all of a sudden in my mind. It's just like, yeah,
Mhm.
because Spurs will sack him eventually because Spurs are weird. But he could go to Newcastle and the fans would bloody love him
Yeah,
because he'd come out with
because
all these funny
he'll
quotes.
call out those owners. He'll call out he's telling Levy that,
He's a
hey, you know
Liverpool
what?
fan, wasn't
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Oh, Ange was a Liverpool fan. Yes, he was.
Mm.
he? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
They do need a
Yeah.
charismatic manager. That's it. They need a
There's
as
not
it,
many
I
out
think
there.
they
So,
want
yeah.
as it, yeah, but I think they see themselves as like a Zidane Ancelotti type scenario where you
Mhm.
just get
Mm.
this kind of figurehead guy. You buy all the best coaches in the world. You get this kind
Mhm.
of figurehead manager. Give him a couple of assistants that he wants to work with who are proven like world class guys,
Mhm.
and you get the best players. But it's
Do you think? Do you think Graham Potter? Do
but
you
no,
think?
just the
And
thing is, look,
this isn't a charismatic guy, but do you think that a Graham Potter? Honestly, is asking what happened to Graham Potter last season. He was in demand, and now no one was picking him. Not even Bayern. Do you think like a Graham Potter could come in and possibly create, or maybe they go for a De Zerbi? Maybe
Potter, I
being
think, has taken
Newcastle.
himself off the market for what I would. That's what's happened. Potter said, "Look,
Oh, he's getting
I got
paid. Why?
basically,
That's why
I
Potter's
got
not.
yeah,
Yeah,
15 million quid, gotten sacked by that,
yeah,
been traumatized. He's been traumatized by the managerial merry-go-round. He got the biggest job in the world he's ever going to
yeah,
get, and 6 months later he gets sacked, and he's a laughing stock. He's been
yeah.
working his career his whole life. He's been building it step by step by
Whatever.
step.
He's laughing all the way to the bank, Irishman. To
Yeah,
be honest
but
with
no, no,
you.
no. I'm saying no. This guy is no. Look, he has this. It's not all about that paycheck. Like the guy, I mean, he's been building his reputation, his career, and that he
Sure.
takes
I
that
get what you're saying.
seriously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but and then again, he takes that Chelsea job and he gets spat out. Like they spit him all out. So he's walked away and you go, no, 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 f that, stuff for a little while. Got my money. I don't need to make any decisions. Get rushed
Yeah,
into a new job. Let
yeah,
everybody. You're the worst manager in the world the day after you get sacked by Chelsea. Just football moves very, very quickly. Just sit back and wait for 10 months, and three other guys are already
yeah.
now the
We
worst in
agree.
the world, and everyone's like,
Yeah,
"Do you remember Potter? Potter was brilliant. Potter was. Then it'll start going that way again. So
Yeah.
and
Oh
he'll
no,
get
no,
off.
exactly. I agree with that completely. Yeah.
Just sit back and wait. And yeah, what are they talking about? Going back to Brighton? Is that what they're doing? I heard that one today.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah, that's a
sense, but
possibility.
also never go back. Never go back. But also, yeah, he should be. He will be working again soon. Like him for England, I don't know. But he's a coach. He's going to have been burnt by that whole like. They gave him the job knowing who he was, and then he got there, and they're like, "Oh, we don't like this guy. He wears a tracksuit, and he doesn't look like Ancelotti." It's like, you hired the guy, so I think he should be at a club that's very happy to have someone like him in charge, where they've got an owner or someone else that wants to be the big dog, whoever it is, but like a Wolves or someone like that, and just give him the money and give him the time. But yeah, he's never going to be a big guy, really, is he? Graham Potter. I mean, just the name doesn't even fit, does it? Potter,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel Newcastle specifically out of clubs that are whatever in a bit of a process. Are they going to want a decent name, aren't they? After Howe, they're not going to want another Howe. They're going to want someone who can attract players, and for them to go into their next stage of development as a newly bought out club with money. So they're going to look for, I think, someone who can attract players in, because they've got some all right players now, and if they can get a few more, then what they'd be looking for probably is top 6 in it next season. They're not going to get top 4 next season because, as I said, they're just not that good a side. This Newcastle team, mate, they're not.
Especially if they have to sell, if they have to sell players just to try to like bring in players. No, that it's gonna be a weird case.
I think Potter should go abroad. I think Potter has enough money now, and he's obviously like, again, we keep talking about this money thing, but he doesn't need to take a kind of a Bournemouth. Iraola gets poached by a bigger club, so he goes to Bournemouth. I think Potter, he's proven his reputation when he went to Ostersunds in Denmark, I think it was, and did brilliant with them in Europe. He's proven that that's his thing. I'd love to see a guy like him go to Spain, go to Portugal, go to Italy, and I guarantee you, give him the time.
Does it have to be a top? Does it have to be a top? Does it have to be one of the top five leagues, or could you see him maybe?
No, I could see him getting a European team.
Eddie Howe goes to the Rangers, let's say, and like.
Oh no, I was talking about Potter. I think Potter should go.
Excuse me, not Eddie Howe. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, could you see them doing? Does it have to be a top 5 leagues?
I think Champions League. I think he should go to a Champions League. Like he could go to Ajax. Actually, that's my shout. They should give him the Ajax job.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see him doing. Give him the Leverkusen job and
Ajax, does Ajax, and this is just me asking a question. I don't know either the answer to it. Does Ajax really? Do they get coaches that aren't Dutch? Really?
No, they don't.
Pretty much all the coaches I remember. Yeah, normally all the coaches for.
Oh no, Ajax, they absolutely don't. No, they don't. They usually get former Ajax players, if at all possible.
Right.
Not only do they need to be Dutch, if they played for Ajax before, but yeah, Potter.
Oh, so you're saying as long as they play for Ajax,
but that kind of
part of the system that they don't have to be Dutch, but as long as they're part of the system, got you.
Oh yeah, preferably, but the ideal Ajax candidate is Dutch and used to play for Ajax.
Yeah,
that gets you probably first in the queue, but he can definitely manage a club like any club in France, Italy, Spain, Germany that gets into the Champions League in like the 3rd place. I think he could go there. Totally Dortmund, totally rebuild his reputation. Get away from England. Why come back and just get like Oh, it's Potter. All this shit people talk about managers in England. Go away to another country
I
that
don't know
gives you
about
a bit
you
of time
guys,
and a bit
but
of space.
Well,
yeah, I don't know
Potter's
about you. If
roots
I was
going
Potter, I
to
would collect those checks until those checks didn't come anymore, and then look, okay, and then know that you have a major bank to say, hey, you know what, I can go into whatever situation I want. The money's not the issue. It's more so
Well,
it's
he's got his money from
it's
Chelsea.
the
He's
team.
got his big check. He can do what he likes. He can do what he
Yeah.
likes. I say go to Spain, show people what you can
And
do.
I would almost do it just to spite Chelsea for sacking me the way they did if I was Potter. You know?
Yeah, but if I was him, right, and it was my choices were a West Ham, no, even West Ham aren't. They're nearly in. Basically, everyone that isn't in Europe in the Premier League, that isn't a relegation club, say so maybe the likes of Fulham,
So like a
Palace, Wolves. If my options are those kind of clubs, or a Champions League club in France or Spain, I think if I was a Potter type, I'd like to see him go and do the French Champions League club or the Spanish Champions League club, like a Valencia or a Villarreal or a Toulouse or whoever it might have to be, rather than just taking that, random Palace job.
Quick
because
question.
then he'll come back.
This isn't related to Potter. Quick question, and we're going to end on this one because we're almost coming on the 2:30 mark here. What team do you honestly believe Stevie G should have gone to after his Rangers gig? And what team do you think he is capable of coaching now that he's gone to Saudi Arabia? I know they're two different questions, but what team do you think he should have gone to after Rangers? Was Villa? Obviously, Villa wasn't a great fit for him. He didn't do well at Villa, obviously. But just like you're saying I'm just asking that question since you're just saying that about Potter. I'm wondering, like, where should Stevie have gone? Where could you have seen him go? Where do you think he would have been able to be successful from? You can answer that in the chat too, by the way. We're gonna leave in a couple of minutes here, but I just wanted to just leave on kind of
after Rangers, it was pretty clear that a Premiership team would want him, but obviously it didn't work. Maybe a Championship team would have been better. Coming from, I don't want to sound bad towards the Scottish League, but it's strength these days. Winning with Rangers and then going into Villa, who had high expectations of doing all right because they spent a few bob. Maybe he'd been better coming back from Rangers and going into the Championship in England rather than the Premiership and managing a big Championship club or something for a few years and getting them promoted. And then if he'd have got them promoted, they wouldn't have wanted to sack him if they were like in the relegation zone and shit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, wouldn't have been a lot of pressure if he went to a Championship team for him to have to. It would have been, if he went to a Championship team, wouldn't have been a big emphasis on that being a Championship team that gets promoted, like just as similar to like what company did with Burnley. He would have to get them promoted for him to be like.
He'd have to do that. And then I was thinking,
because if let's say hypothetically he doesn't. Let's say hypothetically he goes to a Championship team and they don't get promoted, or they're middle of the table. That will completely, take away his.
But that's.
Go ahead. Like I'm listening to both your points. Go ahead.
No, it's saying like, what if he gets a job and he fucks it up? Well, he fucked it up.
Yeah.
Almost under pressure. It's like there's no special circumstance for Steve G. You have to go prove yourself. Can't handle it.
Look, there were a lot of us that would have taken Stevie as a coach or a future coach simply under the pretense of what he symbolizes for Liverpool, the legend, all the different concepts of it all. There are people out. This isn't going against anything you're saying, Irishman. I'm just putting it out there that I know there were a lot of people before his stint that were like, oh yeah, like natural progression, these natural progressions.
Yeah. But I've spoken to many of them at great length over the years. I was talking to many people who, before he even before he even did well at Rangers, was like,
They were, that's
he's
my point.
taking over from Klopp. It was like,
Yeah.
who is Gerrard? Why? Well, he's a manager now, and he's basically the argument was he's a manager now, and he's Steven Gerrard, so he will take over from Klopp.
Not much
I was
of an
like, yeah, but
argument,
isn't
is
there
it?
like some? Yeah, isn't there some stuff that needs to happen in between all
In
that?
between, you would think.
Like,
You would think. You would
yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, nope, he's the next Liverpool manager. Okay, cool. And then he goes and look, he knocks it out of the park at Rangers. You cannot
Sure.
deny it. He
Yeah.
gets him again, not just in Scotland. He did well in Europe, which was the other
Mhm.
obvious. He didn't he got him to the version of what it was, the previous Europa League final.
Mhm.
He did that. He actually did really well with them in Europe, and he smashed the SPL. So it was sort of, where do you go? What do you do? And he gets poached. He walked out on him. Let's not forget, he walked out on Rangers. He didn't sort of hand in his resignation and leave all nicey nice in the summer. He got an offer and he left.
Yeah.
And it went to shit real quick. And he got
Aston
backed.
Villa are one of those clubs that
He got
expect.
backed. But,
Because
yeah, but
Aston Villa
do you know what the problem is, though?
They're a club, when they're in the Premier League, they won't accept like being in the relegation zone or one place above the relegation zone. And I understand that, they've been European champions. Arsenal never have. So let's put it in them terms. Like, Villa are a bigger club than Arsenal in terms of actually being champions of Europe before. But yeah, they expect a bit more, the Villa fans. If he was at something like bloody, I don't know, Bournemouth or Burnley or something, and they'd expect to be in the relegation zone and expect to be in 16th place, one place above the zone. But Villa didn't. Villa didn't see themselves there, and their fans got a cob on very quickly with him, didn't they, when it didn't go well in his second season or whatever the bloody hell it was.
This was the thing that needed to be explained, and this isn't a slight or a dig or anything like that, but it's just a bit of a dose of reality, which is Aston Villa fans don't think Steven Gerrard is a god. We do. Liverpool fans do. Aston Villa fans don't. So they just saw this guy that was like if Frank Lampard had taken over their team. They saw him like Frank Lampard.
They saw him like
they're Villa fans.
like Everton saw Frank Lampard when he took over. That kind of.
It was just a guy that was doing really badly at managing their team. They don't have any love for Steven Gerrard. They're like, oh yeah, that guy, he was really good for Liverpool, but I'm a Villa fan. They don't love him. He's not a god. So he didn't have that,
He was saying, get him out of our effing club.
He didn't have the slack, the slack on the rope, to be able to mess up, to be able to kind of like make kind of get some track, make his mistakes, learn from them and continue to build. No, it was like you had to be.
He got backed.
Yeah.
They gave him Coutinho. He spent money, and the issue for Gerrard is that Emery came in and took his team, not like with no transfers in his first season. Like, he came in after he got sacked, so there was obviously someone's going to say he signed this guy and whatever, but he took over mid-season, like after a guy was sacked, and he immediately turned it. That was the problem for Stevie, and that shouldn't be. That is not an insult to Steven Gerrard. That's not a slag on Steven Gerrard. That, guess what? Unai Emery, multiple title-winning manager, is better than Gerrard. Yeah. Of course he is.
Right.
Of course he is. But what Villa fans were saying, like, when Steven Gerrard left Aston Villa, they were basically, if not quite, I think they were 16th. They weren't in the relegation zone, but they were basically in the relegation zone. after he
Mhm.
backed
Mhm.
Coutinho on loan first and then
Mhm.
signed on big money. Bit of a now, come on, he looks like he's signing his mate there. But to be
Diego
honest, right?
Carlos as well.
Well,
That
big,
summer,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, brought him in, 30 years old, centre back on big money on a free transfer. He got what he wanted. And Emery
Yeah.
took the same players and the
Yeah.
same team and look where they are now. So it's not a slag on Steven Gerrard, but no Aston Villa fan is going to sit there and go, oh, well, we should have waited. Because waited for what? To get to the Champions League? We're already in it, mate. We're already there. And Steven Gerrard was not going to make it happen. We wish him well in the future. We don't hate him, but that's what people need to understand. Aston Villa fans looked at Steven Gerrard as just some other ex-professional footballer
That's
that's taken
it.
over
I
their club.
didn't take offence. I was reading the chat boxes, and Villa fans were in there above me in the chat saying, "Get this fucker out of our club now. We don't want him." Who basically saying, "We don't care who he was in the past. Like it means shit to us. Get rid of him." And which I
Right.
It's like if
I wasn't
Stilian
offended.
Petrov,
Dare you say
if
that
Stilian
about Gerrard?
Petrov became our manager, or Garrett Barry. Imagine Garrett Barry became Liverpool manager. And Aston
Exactly.
Villa fans are like, no, you should hang on to him. He's an Aston Villa legend. Get lost. I don't care if he's a Villa legend. We want to, we're in the relegation zone. Get rid of him.
Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, we'll be doing a watch along tomorrow. Colombia U.S. men's national team. I hope that you enjoyed today. And we went way over what we were going to do, but it was, as always, that's how it ends up being when it gets to. Yeah, I know. Big up, Lee. Big up, Lee. I know.
Oh yeah,
I know, Lee.
1-0,
A little late to the party, Lee, but always welcome. Always welcome.
Why do
yeah, we're
people
gonna be
watching
ending here because, like, hey, I sometimes
they
ask
just
myself the same question
Yeah,
about my
I
own
don't know
teams.
why they watch him. It's so depressing.
Yeah, Jimmy, I don't see him progressing as a man. He's in Saudi Arabia for a reason. He's making money there, not progression towards his coaching career. He's one of the highest paid coaches in Saudi Arabia, much less comparatively in Europe. He's one of the highest paid coaches. So he's getting his paychecks and he's doing his thing. He's being able to have complete control over bringing in whoever he needs to bring in. Whether it's whoever it is, whatever former players from Liverpool or whatever former mate that he has, he's able to do a lot of different things.
He's probably making about 4 times what Diaz is making, if you think about it, isn't he? I think Jarrett's on something close to about 200 grand a week over there. He's actually making about 4 times what Luis Diaz.
I think he's on even more than that, to be honest with you.
I think 260 was the number that dropped into my head. But yeah, when you think about it, Luis Diaz is on 50.
Yeah.
That's some tasty wedge.
Yeah. No, he definitely makes quite a bit. I know that he is one of the highest paid in Europe, or in he's making his salary. He makes what was it? Let me double check here. Yeah, he's the 4th highest paid coach in the world. He makes a weekly salary of $400,000.
What?
Whatever that is, you can do the conversion. That's $400,000 American dollars a week. He's the 4th highest paid coach in the world.
Christ. I mean, I thought 400.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes to look.
I mean, that's $400. Well, yeah. That's at least 290, 300 sterling, and sterling is the big number.
He makes. Yeah. So in terms, I don't know what it is by week, but it says here he just got a pay raise in the region of 25%. So his salary plus with bonuses on top, this is without bonuses, excuse me, is around £6.5 million a year. 6.5 million. He's the fourth highest paid coach in the world. He makes
staying for as long as
100.
possible,
Oh, here it is. He makes 155. 150. This says 155,000 pounds per week, but the Sports Illustrated article says that he is the fourth highest paid coach in the world. Pretty crazy. Big up to you, Stevie.
Well, of
Get
course,
your money.
you're
Yeah.
taking the tax.
Get your money, brother.
The tax-free thing over
Yeah.
there. Tax-free thing over there. So.
And it's tax-free. Exactly. Get your money if that's what it comes down to. But yeah, join us tomorrow. We'll be doing shows all week. I definitely appreciate all you guys sticking around. And
Lee, just quickly, Lee.
Mhm.
Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't. Can you stay?
Yeah.
Don't leave when the show ends. Just hang on. Don't kill just stay in StreamYard when the thing's ending. But cool.
Yeah. Cool. Hopefully again, put those comments in there for us in the sense of like if there's a center back for that center back deep dive we're gonna do. If there's a center back you want us to look at or talk about, put that in the comments. And we'll research and we'll try to add them to the list. If you guys have issues or maybe you have agreeances with what we said earlier in the show, since this was about the Premier League civil war that's erupting, please do put that in there. Try to keep yourself in some respectable measure of the word so that we don't insult or do something below our character as Reds.
Please, anybody don't sue us because everything was said allegedly.
Exactly. And to the lawyers, to the many lawyers out there, this is all opinion. This is all alleged, and this is speculation and alleged allegations, and also just commenting on reports already documented reports that are out
in the public domain.
So make sure that's in there because we don't want to go against the lawyers at all.
Yeah. If they can come for Goldbridge, they can come for you.
Yeah, exactly. And they did. So yeah. Big up to each and every one of you guys, each and every time. Lee, do you want to say something to the people before we let them off?
Yeah.
Irishman, do you have something you want to say to the people before we let them go?
Have a lovely weekend.
Okay. I would say the same. I will also say, hey, make sure that you do continue to take care of yourselves physically and mentally. If you need help, you actually need professional help, please do reach out to the professionals out there that can help with the situations that you're going through. And also understand the fact that as Reds, you will always have our support and we will always walk along with you. So make sure that you understand that you're not alone in any of the adversities that we face in the world. So please do understand that we will be back tomorrow to hopefully see Lucho have a great game, but also a U.S. men's national team get a W. And I guess, as always, the best thing I love to say is up the Reds.